open the meeting at 9:07 a.m. and thank you for your attendance.
We have got a request for a leave of absence. from
Yeah,
the
I'd
deputy.
like to move a leave of absence for Councillor Edwards for today's meeting. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie in favour.
8-0. Okay, well, if there's nothing, confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the 9th of November 2022. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 9th of November 2022 be confirmed.
We have a second, Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? We'll
Just
go.
one,
Mr Mayor, can I just mention there was, there's a correction, that's right. I'm now seeing it on the screen. Thank you.
Okay, and well, we've got two. We've got Councillor O'Neill's got something, and what have you got?
Kel's just put it up, what Julie just said, what Councillor Guthrie said. That's what she was going to bring up, obviously.
and then just for me, just in relation to the declaration 17.1, it's just particulars of interest. It's got I'm a non-executive director of both entities, full stop organisations. Either one of those will be fine, just for completeness.
So is the mover and the seconder happy with those changes?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Righto, we'll go to the vote then. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie in favour.
Okay, 8-0. Righto.
And we've got now page, it's at 36. Yeah, we'll look for it.
11.1, recommendation to procure one 2 metre square loader for Roma Waste Facility. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council select RDO Equipment as the recommended supplier of 544K11 at a cost of $377,300, including GST, excluding registrations, CTP insurance, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to enter into final negotiations with RDO Equipment and raise purchase orders if the final terms are acceptable.
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Do we need to?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
No, 8-0. Thank you. Thanks. Righto. Now moving on, 11.2, monthly financial report as at 31st of October 2022.
Just have a question.
Please go ahead.
Through you, Mr Mayor. On page 47, where it says support grant, there's funding received for the SES vehicle. Is that on the way? Are we getting one?
Yeah, I think we received that one.
Um,
The funding?
oh, through the chair, I think our fleet manager just left. We can take that on notice and just confirm that for you. You mean, has the vehicle
Has it-
been ordered?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just out
certainly.
of total curiosity more than anything else.
Yes.
Okay, you happy to have that on notice, Councillor Taylor?
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a mover?
I still have another question.
Please go ahead.
I'm on page 48. It says Robert Street, Surat, widen pavement and seal to curb. It says that we got a grant for 225, but we only spent 150, and the same with the next one down, 125, and we only spent 54. Does that mean we have to give the money back?
It might, if it's the LRCI, then I'm pretty sure that they would normally.
I looked at that too, Councillor Taylor, and I've got a idea in my head that we knew that come in under budget, and so we actually used some of that money on another
There's something
project.
else. Yeah.
We're allowed to.
Just ask, what are we looking at for it?
The Robert Street, Surat, there's 225,000,
Halfway
but we
down.
only spent 150. And the next one, we spent we got a grant for 125, we only spent 54. So
Director, would you mind
West
being
George,
able to give us a comment on Robert Street, what we did came in under budget? Is that one of your projects?
Deputy Director, my question is just, if we are under budget, do we get to do something else, or do we have to give the money back?
I thought we put it to another project.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This is Robert Street is a externally funded project, so essentially as part of a future report to council, we'll bring back the savings and council can decide where they'd like to put that. So definitely don't have to give it back.
We don't have to give it back.
No, it's
Yeah.
a positive that we've come under and that. So the reason we don't have to give that back, it was a non-contestable grant funding round where there's an allocation to Maranoa. So
Yep,
yep.
okay. Just checking we didn't have to give it back, that's all. Happy to move.
Righto, please go ahead.
Right. The council receive and note the monthly financial report for the period ended the 31st of October 2022.
We have a second, Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0.
Thank you.
13.1, Surat Pontoon, Balonne River. I'd like to move that 1, receive and note the report. 2, acknowledge that Surat Pontoon and Walkway on the Balonne River is now 14 years old and is approaching end of its asset life. Extending the pontoon piles beyond 6 metres from the waterline is cost prohibitive and may compromise the structural integrity of the asset overall. 3, acknowledge the recommendation to replace the existing structure with a new asset that is capable of being more resilient to major flood levels in the river. And 4, write to the Department of Transport and Main Roads, Maritime Safety Queensland, and request that the Surat pontoon and associated infrastructure be replaced with an improved flood resistance design through the Maritime Investment Infrastructure Program. Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Hancock. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? I do. I think, certainly great feedback that if we're going to replace it, we need to get it above all of our known flood heights. So it really is less work for council and it's probably a safer way to go. So I do believe that if we do this, it'll be better and it's great that if we can put it on the agenda with Maritime Safety Queensland. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Hancock.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to acknowledge that this is well used by the community and it has been a great asset to the community. And so I just think it is a common sense approach that, that it's coming towards its end of life, that we look at renewing the whole deal and bringing up to the spec that, we've now had with our floods. So I think it's a great project.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Well, then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. C, 13.2, unnamed road off Jackson Wandoan Road. Do we have a mover?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, just through you, Director Steve, just notice that in the recommendation, it's Luke's Lane or Kabata Road, but I just noticed that in the report, the actual request was, in the letter, was actually Kabata Access Road. I'm just wondering, is there a reason for dropping out that access from Kabata?
No, there wasn't, Councillor Hancock. It was just the options that were provided, but at the end of the report we noticed that it was a typo from a previous copy that I put in, so the road was not supposed to be not there, so it was to give you the option, it was either access road.
So is there any reason why we couldn't call it Kabata Access Road?
No, so originally there were 3 options, so it was from the residence, it could be lane or road, or access.
Okay, so no reason why we can't call it access road.
Look,
Okay.
through the chair, could I just ask the Deputy Director, just around the word access can often be problematic on the road register. Do you have any comments to make in relation to that?
Thanks, CEO, and through you, Mr. Mayor. The reason we probably work that word access out is it's sort of a bit of a duplication, essentially, of it. Like, we're trying to get the word access road out of the road naming, because it's essentially an access. The road is providing access. So, so it's Cobbadar Road. I think if you read the residents' submission, I think what they were trying to highlight there was that would be about the hierarchy. Like, they've tried to interpret our policy and call it access road, whereas I think, for new road names, I think I'd recommend to drop the word access, because the road is providing a function of access, doesn't need the name in there. But it's not unlawful to call it Cobbadar Access Road or Luke's Access Road, but I just don't think it's necessary. But
And maybe with Googling and stuff like that, then today, the less that's in there, it's probably easier to search and that, you know.
yeah, absolutely. As I said, I think it's a duplication. It's actually describing the function as opposed to the name itself. But
I'm happy to move, Mr. Mayor.
Please go ahead.
I move that Council 1 acknowledge resolution number OM/07.2022/42, and 2, name the unnamed section of roadway off Jackson Wandoan Road, Cobbadar Road.
We'll have a second.
How do I?
Cobbadar.
Cobbadar, sorry.
I don't know.
My apologies to the owners of that property.
Okay, we got a second to Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Then we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0.
Thank you.
Can I ask, I'll ask to the CEO, will we be writing to both parties and letting them know about that?
Yes.
Righto, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next.
Morning.
Okay, 13.3, Roma and Injune Visitor Information Centre Christmas and New Year operating hours. Do we have a question? I've got a question.
Yeah, I do.
So is this in line with what we've done last year? Yep, righto. Do we have any other questions, or do we have a mover? Please go ahead.
I have a question, and I'm asking this with full knowledge of the fact that staff need breaks over Christmas. But my only other concern is there any other way? I don't have a problem with the visitor information centre that's being closed, but the big rig Roma, I'm just a little bit concerned with the time that it's closed, just simply because I don't have a problem with Christmas Day, but you know, we have visitors to our town, and it's might be the first time they're visiting our town, and it's fairly new, and so I'm worried. Yeah, I'm not worried. I'm just thinking that it's a great opportunity for people to, when they're looking for something to do in our town, that they could access the tower and tree work and the big rig, understanding that there is, staff and concerns around that. Even if we could just open limited hours, like in the morning, or give some opportunity for visitors to our town to see that facility while they're in our town. That's my number one. The other two is the cafe operating over that period?
I couldn't tell you, Councillor. I'm happy to make an inquiry now as soon as we finish, and then I'll come back and let you know at the break or something. So about Beck's Cafe. So
Councillor O'Neill.
I'm going to move something.
Oh, just before, can I get another
Yeah,
question?
if we got a question, if we can get them
Councillor Muller
out.
might have been before me. Yes, 13 days, I sort of tend to agree there. Is there anyone, like, I don't know how many people are trained up in that area to split some shifts or something like that, I don't know, but...
Even just like a morning, just something, I guess.
Yeah,
it's a
'cause
long time.
13 days is a long time.
Facility closed down.
And I don't know historically what the patronage is over that time. It might be very limited, I don't know. But.
It is in the report.
Councillor McMullen, did you have a question?
Well, actually, I was just going to ask them, because yes, we lay it on the table for later in the day to let the officers check a couple of things out, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, through the chair, the obvious thing is if council wanted to amend that they could, but clearly what we can do is say, is there the potential, we can investigate the potential about whether we can get skeleton staffing over over that period of time, should you move
In line
a
with the
resolution
question
accordingly.
Director Dean could check out the cafe side of it.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor O'Neill.
I've got a question now. The 13 days that was referenced, Councillor Burkett, is that you're talking about the night show?
The night show, the bottom one, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, the actual centre is not closed for 13
That's right.
days?
No, the night show, it's 0.3, sorry, I should have said, yeah.
Yeah.
And generally, it's been a very, very quiet time. Maybe with COVID, it's maybe a little bit different with people changing their patterns. But, yeah, like it is a very, very quiet time of the year. So.
And I also guess, you know, a lot of people go away rather than people come here because it's too hot. Like I worked at the Big Rig on Monday and we didn't get to have anybody.
No one.
Yeah.
Very, very little.
Numbers
yeah.
have definitely dropped off, and it is that it's fair comments that councillors are making around being open and operating, and happy to entertain some sort of skeleton crew. I will just ask around the entertaining some days that we will definitely be closed, like Christmas Day, obviously, and a couple of others. And the night show, though, happy to entertain a shortening of that, but a reasonable chunk of it not operating would be helpful on a range of fronts. Why we wouldn't want to do that?
Councillor
Oh,
Burkett.
just to follow up on that, because, yeah, the night show, and like I say, historically, mightn't be anyone there, so 13, that might be all cool, that's all, I'm happy with that, yeah.
Just with
Councillor
through you,
Ladbroke.
Mr. Mayor. Just through with Beck's chopping board there. I've been in there a few times in the last couple of weeks, and it's like if there's a bomb scare, there's just no one there.
Yeah, the Monday.
You know, so they feel it too. You know, like so they, if they're open, they're going to have to pay staff.
They actually weren't even opened on Monday.
Yes.
It wasn't even open on Monday.
Well, probably staff.
Councillor O'Neill.
Makes it tough.
For my own clarity, when I'm reading this, am I reading it correctly that the suggestion in the recommendation is to close Saturday the 24th, Sunday the 25th, Monday the 26th, but reopening on Tuesday the 27th?
No, because it's
No,
still a public
close
holiday.
inclusive.
Why is the
Tuesday.
Tuesday a
It is.
public
It's
holiday?
not.
Christmas.
Because
Monday,
Christmas
Tuesday,
Day's on a
Boxing Day.
Sunday, and
And
so
so
we get a public holiday on the
On
Tuesday.
Tuesday, I
Yeah,
beg your
public
pardon,
holiday.
I understand.
It's closed.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, no, I
That
just
mate, I
don't-
forgot about
I
Boxing
just
Day.
don't-
I've done my
Yeah.
stuffing roster.
And I don't have any
Yeah.
concerns now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing, if we can just get that little bit of feedback, as well as the other things that have been mentioned, what's the staff retention, been able to give people proper holidays and all the rest, recharging. Generally, business uses that, and people say, well, if I can't get a reasonable break, I don't want the job. So we need to get that feedback as well. Otherwise, we could lose people rather than not wanting to, or, keen to work or whatever. But if we could get that feedback, and I think it would be interesting feedback from Bex about giving their staff a break and all the rest of it.
But it's not
That's,
they're
no.
exclusive of one another. We can shut the VIC,
Yeah,
but the
Yeah.
cafe stays
They
open.
can stay open.
We can, but
Yeah.
And we
it
have.
obviously is a draw card to come to the Big Rig to have a cup of coffee. So if they're shut, I think it's important to know that it actually is less of a draw when they're not there. So it's important to know if you want to open and there's no cafe, that's a less attractive to people to come, is the feedback that I get.
As a local.
Just no, from people away, like, can we get a cup of coffee, and like everything's shut, so, which is like that, they run their own business and nothing against that, but they need to give their staff time off too, so.
And just through the chair, if the report is laying on the table to get this information, are we just focusing on Roma Visitor Information Centre at this particular point?
Yeah,
don't think
just the
so.
big, just the opportunity to be able to see
Yep.
the big rig.
And do you want a number of options in relation to Roma Visitor Information Centre? Because you've got your Saturday 24th and 25th of December, Saturday, Sunday. Do you want an option for the 4 days and then also just for the 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, the 26th and the 27th?
I think the dates are fine, to be honest with you.
It's just a night show that was
She's
worrying
quiet.
me, but I don't know much about it.
You're not going to get anything.
I'm happy for the directors to get any feedback they want, and I'm asking respectfully because I full well know what it's like about those, but I just would like to know because sometimes there's people who are available and would be happy to do that for a couple of hours a day. Obviously, it's overtime as well, so it's a cost for council. So I know all that's got to go into it, and so it is just being it's just a question. Yeah.
The other thing is, though, it also gives the volunteers a break.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. And can we also, just on those days, on the days we're open, just let us know how many people actually came in to the visitor information?
Well, they haven't been. We might not have that data.
No, on the,
Keep a record for next time.
no, what I mean is, let's have a look at the days around there. So for instance, if we open on Wednesday and now we might open on Tuesday, what did we get on Wednesday? Did we get 12 people? Did we get 2 people? Did we get some basic information about what we get at that time of the year? Because it could be very interesting.
The difference is people coming out here for Christmas, they're probably out here for 4 days and going back when it opens. So that's, you know.
They could be, but I think it's important to know that. Just about the numbers around the days that we have details for.
I move we lay it on the table later in the meeting. I sort of might confirm it, Mr Mayor.
All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. Item 14.1, infrastructure charges, concessions for not-for-profit organisations and community groups. Councillor Taylor,
I have a conflict.
please go ahead.
I have a conflict on 14.1, infrastructure charges, concessions for not-for-profit organisation and community groups. The declaring councillor is myself, Wendy Taylor. The person of interest is myself. I am the treasurer of the Roma Clay Target Club and the club is mentioned in the report. It is a prescribed conflict of interest and I will leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Just through the through the chair, my understanding is our manager of planning circulated an email yesterday just in relation to an additional request in relation to infrastructure charges. It was from the Bowls Club Tourist Park, and I just want to confirm that everyone's got that email.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Okay, do we have a mover? I'd like to move that.
I've got a question.
Please go ahead.
Just through the chair to the CEO, this with the additional one at number 5, in terms of the Roma Bowls Club, have they lodged the development application for the material change of use to have that as a tourist park? Is that?
Look, through the chair, I'll confirm that for you. I actually thought they had lodged that, some time ago. So I think the answer will be yes, but I can confirm that for you.
And it's obviously a development application then that doesn't come before
That's
council.
It's complying development. Yes.
Mr Mayor, early in the piece when I put in a CR for someone about all this and it came out, they are already, I forget the zoning, but they're zoned.
Tourist park, yeah.
So
The
tourist
design
park zone, and there's probably not a real, what's the feedback from the customer request was all they had to do was paint lines on the bitumen for caravan parks and put rubbish bins there, like parking bays, and put rubbish bins in. That's all they had to do to do them. They're already
Using the car parks.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, how can you already be zoned something that you're requesting a material change of use?
I'll just get
I'm
the
not sure, but
clarification
because
for that.
under the planning scheme, they were classed as a tourist park.
And through the chair, there may have been some objections, so I'll just double check.
Should we lay it on the table?
Well, the reason I highlight that one is because we're probably aware of the others, but that one was a new one yesterday, and I think given what triggered your CR, I suspect, is...
Mary rang me.
Well, and others have raised
into me too.
question. So maybe, Mayor, if you're moving something, maybe it's all bar that one until we get more information on that particular.
So
Well,
you can
I'll
move the
Can
report
we lay
as
it on the
is.
table till
Yep.
further in the meeting?
is there any other questions about it, but? Righto. So I'll move that we lay it on the table till later in the meeting to get this information. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
7-0. So we can get Councillor
Sure, I'm
Taylor
just doing
back.
that now. Yes.
There's one lot done.
We've got one more to go.
We got at the back.
Haven't finished this one yet.
17.1, Public Address System, Injune Memorial Hall.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that a report be presented to a future council meeting with the cost to upgrade / replace the PA system at the Injune Hall to a standard that will accommodate all groups wishing to use this facility.
Okay, we have
Mr
a
Mayor, I'd
second.
like to second it. I'd like to second it.
Oh,
Well, I think Councillor Ladbroke was first.
sorry, Julie.
Councillor Guthrie. Right, now, does anyone wish, any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Mr Mayor, as I said, I was at the school function there the other week and it played up like on a second-hand lawnmower and it, Bryce Dukes was out there with the performing arts volunteering their time and had a discussion with Bryce later on, and it's not they're not asking for a big theatre program, just he believes even just for a PA system it's not adequate. Now, as I said in the report, the other one's still got VCR tapes, that's how old the unit is, and Bryce was saying, you know, they're not, his suggestion that was not to, it's not ever going to be a big theatre thing, it just needs a better system for,
Yeah.
I think Ruben is aware of it now too, Mr Mayor.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Ladbroke?
Who was out there and we've had a few do's out there and the speakers aren't very good at all. So if we could get them replaced, that'd be good for Injune.
Mr Mayor, maybe Director, you got any comments?
No, yeah, we've received similar feedback just through the different events and whatnot, so it is something that we can certainly come back with some information on.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor, I'm pretty happy, thanks.
Okay, righto, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. 17.2, Denise Spencer Memorial Swimming Pool. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that Council, 1, conduct a safety audit on the status of the curtains. 2, remove the damaged unsightly plastic curtains. 3, be provided a further report with costings to replace the damaged curtains.
I'll second that. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it?
Mr Mayor, I'd just like to, I brought a sample in for everyone to see. Why I say the safety of it is where they're falling apart. The plastic's quite hard, and I haven't been to have a look at it, but if anyone hit that, you know, the kid could poke their eye out if it's the curtains are down or anything like that, so that's why, that's the condition of it. It's not good condition.
Yeah, so I think the Roma director, you're aware of it?
Yeah, that's right. But
Are they all that
Councillor
dirty?
Burkett?
Not all of, I don't think they're all that bad, it's just the damaged ones.
And it's been brought up before. The Roma director, did you want to say anything on this one?
Thank you,
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor. So thank you, Councillor, for bringing to today. We are aware about the standard of those curtains. There was in the project team, they actually had been undertaking. There's a budget allocation and some quotes for replacement. I've been following that up in the last few days with Roma Glass and Security around that. And so there is some quotes there around replacing that. So there's a body of work underway with some options then about the type of material and this current system via replacement system. So I'm happy to bring some more information back at another time.
Okay, so does anyone wish to speak to the motion? I will. It's certainly been a bugbear, and I'm really glad that the Roma director is onto it. I do believe that when we're operating well in the future, we will not have things go to such a extreme stage, and that we'll get feedback and do smaller amounts of maintenance all the time. So looking forward to getting it up to standard, and then, having a different approach in the future. Does anyone else wish to speak?
I just have a comment.
Please go ahead, Councillor Ladbroke.
We wouldn't want to spend too much on it. You know what I mean? We wouldn't want to go overboard because, with the proposed new pool, you wouldn't want to go overboard, There's a happy medium there.
Yeah, and that's a fair comment, and that's a balance around that we face with that facility, is about continuing to maintain, ensure that's at a reasonable standard, and over capitalising on something. And so that's part of the information that I'm pulling together around what the options are in relation to how much. So.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to thank Director Dean for his comments. I knew there was something in the background, but fairly, in my opinion, I think dot point 2 needs to be looked at sooner rather than later for safety, and that's all my question. I don't expect, I don't think we're going to have new curtains up there next month, if you know what I mean, but the safety issue, I think.
I think it's a fair comment. I think the curtains are primarily for winter time, and so there's certainly an opportunity to have them, the current ones, removed. I have spoken with the pool manager about some options in that regard, and so I'll continue to talk to her about that and see what we can do on that front.
Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. 17.3, contribution in lieu of parking space fee.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move the council remove the contribution in lieu of parking space fee from the fees and charges and schedule.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does that?
Question?
Please go ahead.
I don't know, honestly, if Councillor McMullen can answer it, but when you say remove it, so if someone goes to build something and they're supposed to have 20 car parks, are you saying they don't have to have 20 car parks?
No, what I'm saying is the fee, because if you read in the...
I read it all,
where
yeah.
the manager, in my reply to my S170, we technically can't, legal advice is we probably can't charge it anyway because it's not a what's the word? How does she word it?
I know we don't charge it.
We do, we have done, that's why there's been people, it has been charged not recently, but there's been people looking through planners, I believe, to come out here, and when they see that, they say no. Because they got example I put there was someone building the same size as the Royal Hotel would be putting nearly $200,000 into the council before they can do anything else.
For parking.
Just to provide parking.
Before they...
Yeah, and I think, as I said, the manager wrote in there somewhere,
through the chair is basically that there are very limited options for council to impose charges through the DA process, but it actually makes the fee redundant in the fees and charges. It's an assessment mechanism, but we also allocate it as part of our fees and charges, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think the conversation was around why do we charge these, and there is obviously an impact process around the planning process, but we had also itemised it in our fees and charges, and by removing it from the fees and charges, it means that it's not an automatic thing, it's an assessment thing in relation to each application process.
I do believe I don't remember it happening in my time on council, but it used to be calculated on every 40 metres squared, and then it got changed to 30 metres squared too, which made it
Yep.
a little bit.
And look, the planning scheme is designed in such a way to look at impact, and the applicant can always argue around, appropriate traffic solutions surrounding the development, i.e. say if there was an application, assessment for a business in the CBD, and certainly the commentary in relation to this matter that the manager said was that, look, for many of those applications that are coming through for the CBD, they actually are arguing that there's adequate car parking in and around the development, and that's actually used as part of the assessment process. But whereby the impact's actually significant, the planners have the ability to actually ask for a traffic management study in relation to that, to verify that. And if you recall, you did have a recent development during the year where you were actually looking at a traffic management study to argue about how many spaces or not was associated with one development.
Councillor Hancock.
I have just two questions. One of them is, can we change our fees and charges at any time during the year?
Yes.
Yep, that's good. And number two, and this is just to make sure there's no loophole, I actually don't have a problem with it, is should this be a request for an agenda report or a notice on motion? Because there's no request for a report, it's actually, the request is actually to do something.
Yeah, actually, through the chair, that's quite right. It is a notice of motion.
I beg your pardon?
I put the motion.
Yep. Yep, you're quite right. It is a notice of motion. It is a motion.
Yeah, but so it's just so there's no loophole with anything. This is for it's for an agenda report. It's requesting a report, but we're actually not requesting a report. We're actually doing a motion.
I'm asking to remove the fee.
Maybe you can help.
Through the chair, it's just the template format. That's all.
Oh, okay.
It isn't a request for an agenda. It is actually truly a notice of motion.
Oh, right. Okay. You're the wrong template. Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any, because we're doing something pretty substantial here. I didn't want to.
Further, Mr. Mayor, further to, I just thought what Councillor Taylor said too. It's not necessary new buildings. I know in the last term of council, I won't say that. Well, a former councillor at that time just moved into a building to start a business and had to pay the parking fees. Like the parks were there, the building was there. The building wasn't getting built, but because it was a change of use.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's not because you're building a new one necessarily.
Yeah. Oh.
Like, there's a few empty shops, one of those empty shops down Main Street where if someone wanted to put something different in there, they could be charged because it's a different, if they've got to get a different
Even though there's
development.
public
Yeah, if
parking.
you've got to get a development application to change the use of that, I think I got that right, the material use of the premises, then that can be introduced then.
Okay, so we have a mover and a second. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion or against the motion? Then does the mover wish to sum up?
No, pretty right, thanks. I think
Righto, we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. Okay, moving on to the late open. L2, People's Choice Award. I'd like to move that a People's Choice Award be introduced to allow community members to easily nominate online and via the telephone using a simple form. Online, via the telephone and also by using a simple form. 2, the awards be called the Spirit of Bringa, Spirit of Bungle, Spirit of Waroo, Spirit of Roma, Spirit of Bendemeer. 3, the winner of the People's Choice be presented with a small frame certificate at the end of each small frame certificate at the beginning of each town's Australia Day award ceremony. 4, if there's no clear winner in a town, the winner will be chosen by the Australia Day panel members. from the nominations.
Just need a second.
And do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? I'll speak to it. I do believe that we need a People's Choice Award. I'm certainly happy to have, on that award that will be Spirit of Baringa Award, but with People's Choice, it's actually understood. It's a very common thing. I believe it's sort of bringing a little bit more accessibility to people that don't have the ability to do a much more in-depth process. And the world is changing. Some of the people that that communities may wish to recognise may not fit the boxes that we have in our other awards system. So I'll certainly be supporting this, and I've had good feedback from the community about the need for this. Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yes, I won't be supporting this motion today. I think it is an honour to be nominated for an Australia Day Award, and there are as many people in our communities who have been nominated, and not only have they been nominated, they've been awarded. Citizen of the Year is the highest accolades in our community, and the people who already have those awards on their walls are very, very proud to have them there. And the way they got them there is because somebody from the community took the time to fill out an application form to put them forward. And my mum always taught me if there's anything worth doing, it's worth doing right. And so therefore you put the time in, and if you believe that somebody is worthy of an award, you put the time in, you fill out the application form, and we've simplified that process this year. And so we've got it more simple than we've ever had it. I think that there's enough categories in the awards that covers off all the people who are doing an amazing job for our communities. I actually don't think we should have a People's Choice Award. I think the people are already choosing the award winners of the Australia Day Awards via the nomination process. They are nominated by the people of this region, and they put the forms forward. So the people are already choosing the winners of the Australia Day Awards in our regions. And I think that by having a People's Choice Award, it will take away from the Australia Day Awards. I think it will take away from the Australian Citizen of the Year Award, and I think it will turn our Australia Day Awards into a popularity contest on who has the most friends on social media. And so I'm very concerned about how this will affect our Australia Day Awards, and I would just hate to think that Australia Day Awards will turn into a popularity contest, because it actually won't reach that person who is doing that quiet job, who might not have as many friends on social media, who might not be able to build a campaign around this to make, to see that they can win. I actually don't think it will achieve that. I think the system that we have now actually achieves that, because they put in a nomination form and they evaluated against every other nomination form by a panel. And so on that basis, I am very concerned of how this will affect our Australia Day Awards. I think it will downgrade our Australia Day Awards, and that makes me really sad, because I think it is the highest honour to not only be nominated for an Australia Day Award, but to actually to win it. And on that basis, I won't be supporting this motion.
Okay, Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'm basically happy with it, but I'd like to move an amendment, please. I'd like to remove .4. I believe it's a People's Choice Award. I don't think if the panel should be doing it.
You need a second.
Okay, well, I'm happy with the amendment. Are you happy with that amendment? Righto, so that's the motion.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
So what if you get a tie? How's that going to be worked out?
They'll be worked out with the panel. They're not going to nominate anyone.
No, you've just taken that out.
Panel won't be doing it.
The panel won't be having anything. That was what we talked about, and now you've taken that out.
If there's no clear winner in the town.
So if there is a
So
clear
if there's
winner,
a tie, That's what that was for, is if there was a tie, it would go to the panel and they would have a look at what was written about each application.
So in that case, that might mean there is no award for that town if there's not a clear winner. Is that what you're meaning by that, Councillor McMullen?
I was just trying to
So what I'm saying now, just say everyone got one nomination each, then there'd be no winner for that town. Or before it was going to be if the panel could decide out of everyone getting one, but if someone gets two and the rest get one, there's a winner. So it really depends on what you...
Well, maybe I'll withdraw that amendment then if that's...
Righto, so you're
Mr.
happy to
Mayor,
do that?
can I make a comment? Councillor
Yeah, please
Guthrie?
go ahead.
I would think that if there were two nominations and they got actually equal billing or equal votes, you would actually give both if they were equal, like having a joint ducks of a school. You award two if they've got equal votes. If not, there will be one clear-cut winner.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But we've talked about that in the briefing extensively. What if there's 5? What if there's 6? What if there's only one vote? It is this. I believe this number 4 was meant to be if there was a tie. So it's not as if there's no clear winner. The panel just picks someone out of the community. That wasn't the intention. It was if there was a tie.
Because
The Mayor put that in there. He said you added the word from the nominations at the end of point 4.
Oh yeah, well then that fixed that.
And I was in agreement with what Councillor Guthrie said, if it's only 2, but it does get a bit out of hand if there's 3 or 4 or 5. But
It's
if there's
been
only
withdrawn
2.
now.
Yeah, that's right. No, I didn't read the last bit.
Well, it was the motion because we both accepted it.
Vote against it. We'll just vote against it, and then Mr. Mayor, if you've got to vote on it, that's right. I'm happy. The amendment.
Can we change anything now?
Yeah, look, through the chair, yeah, there's a couple of sequencing there. So it did, yes, you agreed to accept the modification, so you did have an amended motion. Then the councillor withdrew his his amendment, and so again, it's the case of if the councillor's withdrawn their amendment, it's back to the original movers and seconders to actually make a decision about what that motion looks like now.
But if it is the motion, because we accept it, maybe it would need to be another amendment to change it.
Look, probably for simplicity, to be clear about what it is that you're moving, but you did have an amendment, it was accepted, it became the motion. You now need another amendment to amend that motion. Yes, it would be clear and that would probably be clean.
Righto. Councillor McMullen, did you want to move an amendment about that change?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I just moved that we go back to the original motion.
Righto. And I'm happy with that. Councillor Ladbroke, are you happy with that?
Yes, I am.
And I did put in there, we chose them from the nominations, yep.
I didn't read it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, does anyone else wish to speak against the motion or for the motion? Councillor Burkett.
Mr. Mayor, I am a bit sceptical, but I see a lot of positives in it. I do take on board what Councillor Hancock said. I think it depends how it's worded and how it's promoted, that we do segregate it, because I've been lucky enough and privileged enough to win a couple of these, and it is an honour. And so I'd hate to see that belittled. But I think if we do it the right way, I think it might, on a positive side, might create some interest and get people talking about Australia Day. We've had the issues which we've made some good modifications in the last couple of years as far as the nomination and the terms of nomination. I think that was a positive step. So I'd like to think there is some risk, but I think if we do it, we word it and promote it right and it's done the right way. The only thing I am worried about the popularity thing. Sadly, that's the world we live in with social media, but the only thing that really worries me is how diluted it'll be if we only get, if we get 5 nominated people, you're separating and only getting one nomination. To me, I'd like to see the public really get behind it, and I'd love to see, one bloke get nominated 100 times, to get that much promotion. But I'm happy to give it a trial. Like if it doesn't work, we can always, revisit it next year. So I'm happy to support it this year.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we were planning to nominate the Australia Day nominations close this Friday. So we were planning to launch it, if it was to go ahead, on Monday or later in the week. So it is separate, and that's how I imagine that we would probably, and if that was successful, that would be something you would carry on each year.
And that'll segregate it a bit,
So
yeah.
it is segregated, therefore it can't affect, it's not affecting and stopping people from nominating because they aren't even aware of it at the moment. So, but it's obviously going to be launched afterwards, so it will be completely separate. And it's something that I imagine that we would do each year, that you would, we were looking at having the nominations open even earlier for Australia Day, the standard nominations, have them closed and then launch the People's Choice, because we don't have to time that to come back to a council meeting. So it can be timed to close in January and be separate, if that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone wish to speak against the motion or for the motion? Councillor O'Neill.
I'm torn on this, but I'm like Councillor Burke, and I'm going to give it a go. I have some real concerns around the voting process, but I'm not going to know if those concerns are real until it's trialled. And I think if the intent is that we will have a robust look at this in the new year to assess whether this has been a positive outcome or not in the community, then I'm happy to support it. I do think the names probably warrant, if this doesn't go as positive as what we think, to be an inclusion in future Australia Day Awards. To the Mayor's point, there may be people out there that don't quite fit into the categories. I think the contribution award probably is wide enough, but that said, there may be people that could be nominated for having the spirit of, Injune under the Bungle area or whatever. And that could be something to look at in the new year. But given it's been quite a long process to get to this point, I'm happy to support it as a trial and that we put the right due diligence around it in the new year to assess whether it's been successful or not.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak against the motion or for the motion? I'll sum up. I do believe that I don't think it's equity today because of we have people that go to a lot of effort to put in Australia Day Awards, but there is a lot of people that do not have the literacy. There is changing worlds. If you look at any of the awards and you look at the approximate probably 6,000 people that could put an award in, we have very low numbers. So, I would like to see, I totally respect the people that put the effort in to put Australia Day Awards in, and I think that's fantastic. But it's almost like we're not going to give people that operate in a different manner or maybe only be able to write down a few words or get someone to write them for them, there's somewhere to go. And people are time poor. I do believe that this is actually moving with the times, and we're not changing anything from our traditional Australia Day Awards, and they're very, very important. But this is about seeing with whether we can get more involvement from community in a different way. So on that note, we'll go to the vote.
Just before you do, I'm sure you didn't mean to, but if there's an opportunity over the next few days for people to still nominate for the Australia Day Awards, it's been common practice, at least for the last 2 or 3 years, that the local development officers have offered to help people put in those nominations. I'd hate it to get out there that our staff aren't willing to help, because that's what's been common practice. And we saw that in particularly last year. I'm sure that wasn't your intent, and given it's still open, I think it's important to get that message out there.
No, what I'm saying is obviously LDOs can help with those putting those awards in, but there's people that that may not even wish to contemplate doing that. So I do believe we have a low intake as far as uptake in the community with the Australia Day Awards compared to the amount of people out there. And I think it's just like we're looking at different options in all ways that we engage with the public. I think this is a very positive way. And I think people that are going to put Australia Day Awards in possibly are not the same people that would be interested in the People's Choice Awards. So on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
All those against? 6-2 if I can call for a division. L3, Australia Day 2023 Ambassador Program. Councillor Ladbroke.
I'd like to move that Council 1 approve the inclusion of 1 or 2 Australian Day ambassadors as part of the Australia Day Awards and celebrations held in 2023. And number 2, allocate an additional $4,775 to the Australia Day budget, 028888 2253 2001 to fund the Australian Day Ambassador Program if there are five ambassadors.
So Councillor Ladbroke, that might have been to have some flexibility. You when you moved the motion could have different options. Is that how you did the motion there?
Yes, it was, Mr Mayor. So it
Okay.
was to point out that if we were to go for 5 ambassadors, we would need an increase in the budget.
Yeah, so maybe that point 2, so
That's
did
the
we?
second part of the motion.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
No options.
It doesn't actually make sense because they do counteract each other.
Yeah, so because that was made for an option, so Councillor Ladbroke, did you want to do 1 or 2? So if you do that, then the second part can have that.
Well, we haven't been told
or-
if they can get 5.
We can't 5, it's just allocating 4,775, the budget, if there are 5.
Through the
But
chair,
weren't we
is it
going
just?
to find out if we could get 5?
Yeah.
Have we asked the question?
Yes, I have asked the question. They can't guarantee it, but they would be open to 5. I've already contacted the Premier's Department, who said that that's a strong possibility, but they obviously can't guarantee it till probably early December. Yeah.
So if we don't get 5, we won't need that full
So
money.
through the chair,
it's
is it
just
just the
allowing
inclusion of the words up to?
Yeah, Councillor McMullen, what
I was
would you-
just going to ask for, but CEOs, I was going to ask for someone to clarify a change in it, that's all.
Yeah, so Councillor Ladbroke, are you in favour of having up to 5 or how many
Yes, up to
ambassadors?
5.
So
If
then
there
the
are
first
5.
one, the first point will have up to 5 in your first,
Instead of 1 or 2.
1 or 2, yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
so in point 1, Kel, it needs
Up to
up to
5.
5, is that what you want, Councillor?
Yes, that'll be fine, and that matches underneath that.
Does the 4,775 need to go? Or-
No,
But, through the chair, you have
I'm happy to
qualified.
second that, Mr Mayor.
But I have a question.
Yep, okay, Councillor McMullen seconded, Councillor Hancock.
Where are we drawing the $4,775 from?
From
Through the
Australia Day
chair,
budget.
Australia Day
Top-
budget.
We're topping up we've got to top up the Australia Day budget, so we're not drawing it. We're allocating an additional $4,775 to the Australia Day budget, but where are we pulling that from?
Does the officer have, did you get briefed on where that was coming from, or what was your?
No, no additional money was allocated the last 2 years, but I must admit, I don't know from where that extra money came from. Yeah.
Through the chair, happy to take the question on notice to advise you. I think the department actually fund the additional amount. However, what we're doing is adjusting our side of the budget, but we certainly can confirm that for you.
The Premier's Department only cover the costs of them getting here. This additional amount, as
Will
outlined
be
in the
when
report,
they're
is to
here.
cover the costs
When
when
they're
they're
here.
here. So
Yep,
if
that's
there's
right.
one or two ambassadors, our budget can stretch and cover it, because quite often, and I mean, the ambassadors actually didn't come because of COVID last year, but 3 out of the 5 ambassadors all bought partners, and it's quite common that, so if we have 5 ambassadors, there is the possibility that we will have up to 10 people that we're hosting, hence the extra amount.
Yep.
And it's quite likely we would have, at least 8 people if
Yep.
we were
So
hosting
through the
5
chair,
ambassadors.
so through the chair, we just don't have would have to take that question on notice to find either the operational budget item line that we're going to amend to increase this budget, or the other alternative is to take it from cash reserves to increase the overall budget.
Can I ask, are they paid to come or just all their costs when they're here, like hospitality?
Yeah, it's a volunteer position, the ambassadors. So the Premier's Department funds the costs for them to get here. We cover all costs, which includes food, transport, and any other, and the gifts and things like that. Accommodation is also covered by the council. So we cover all costs from the moment they step out of that plane at Roma, or their car when they arrive.
So,
Councillor Taylor?
So from what I'm hearing, we can't afford 5 ambassadors.
From our budget, we can afford 1 or 2,
That's
but
what
we
I'm
would
saying.
need an
We
extra
can't- we can't
allocation.
afford
If we have
5.
more than 2, we would need an extra allocation. Yeah.
Okay, well, I move it lay this on the table till later in the meeting.
I've got a question.
Please go ahead.
Just in relation to the budget, put in my head that there was an allocation made to each geographical area of the region.
through the chair, can you
Not
answer that?
specific- No, sorry, not specifically for this, but for the director.
There's $14,000 in the Australia Day budget.
The single line.
I'll go again. My understanding is that there is a budget allocated to each operating area.
Through the chair, I'd have to actually double check that.
It was $250,000.
I thought, that's what I thought, there was and
Off the top of my head.
could, if we were successful to be able to get an ambassador, because I think it is important to get one for each of the areas if it's possible, that that budget is drawn, the budget to have that ambassador is drawn from that operating budget for that operating area.
Look, through the chair, again, you'd have to identify what you're going to reduce in order to do that. I mean, yes, we could modify different line items across the region.
Okay, just to follow up, my understanding was just a blanket allocation of 200. I thought it was 200, but if it was 250,000
I thought it was
per
250.
operating area, it didn't have anything underneath that as to what it was going to.
I'd have to, through the chair, I'd just have to double check that.
Right, so I move this later on table later in the meeting to get the information about Councillor O'Neill's question, as well as if we're going as per the motion, that has, then how do we fund it? Okay, all those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0.
Mr Mayor, just before you, just the first 3, just a typo. 1, 2 and 3, we had 2, 3, 2, and then the 4, just in case when you're reading it out, so the next one will be L3.
Oh, right,
Just
okay.
a typo in the first 3.
What's that, sorry?
So,
Oh, yeah, okay.
2 L3, L2 instead of 1, 2, 3.
The next
Then
item
what we're
number is
asking
L3.
there's 2
be L4,
questions, is
should
I'm
it?
not
The
sure.
next
one. No,
who the
next one's
council's been
L3.
Speaking to around the
2 and
budget.
3.
Page
No,
Because
Didn't
what
have
we're
one.
basically saying
Page
is that
14.
operational-
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's in the, I'm looking at the list.
yeah, but that's
Yeah.
wrong. Read it. It's got 2, 3, 2, 4 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. No, on your contents.
But page 14 should be L3.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we've got the whole lot thrown right out because we've got 2 lots of 2.
In relation to
But
that.
then it fixes itself in 4.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
Of the 14,000.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, I see, that was L1, yeah, L1 should have.
14,000.
Just adjourn for a minute and we'll be back in a minute. The meeting, L2, policy for trade-in timing for small motor machines and equipment mowers. I'd like to move that 1, council receive and note the report. 2, note that a fleet asset management policy is being developed to include lower changeover hours of small motor machines and equipment, and mowers that will be tabled by the end of Q3 of the current financial year. 3, approve the purchase of up to 13 new mowers, increase from 4 mowers based on changeover hours of 1,000 hours for a value up to $500,000 net after proceeds from disposal of aged plant to improve productivity, with the inclusion of 2 wide area mowers. 4, fund the amount from cash reserves to top up GL 6551 to enable changeover of plant to be completed within the 2022-23 year. And 5, a local plan of implementation of gradually bringing most important first to 1,000 hour changeover. Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen,
I have a question.
please go ahead.
Just, if we are doing a fleet asset management policy and it's being developed, shouldn't we wait till we accept that policy before we approve the purchase of the mowers?
CEO?
Look, through the chair, it's entirely up to council. The report is really discussing around, setting a policy, but you also have a renewal issue in relation to your mowers. Currently, at the moment, you don't have enough budget to even renew what you've got. And clearly, if you want to move to a higher productivity level, you do need to fund that. Yes, you could wait for your policy, or yes, you can fund and also work on a draft policy as well. From an organisational perspective, we are in the position where we have aged plant. It hasn't been replaced last year, needs to be replaced this year. So certainly we need to be considering some replacement of some fleet, and I would be saying is that we need at least 1 wide area mower, and I note that the Mayor has put in the inclusion of 2 wide area mowers. Because we actually need to get on with productivity. We've had an extremely wet year. We're not keeping up with what we've got, and we need to be more productive over the coming 6 months in relation to managing town and surrounds, certainly in Roma.
I've got follow-on questions.
Please go then, Councillor McMullen.
2 more follow-on questions. I note in the report that the mower for the Roma Directorate is proposing is priced at $130,000 plus for 1 mower.
Yep.
What's the difference between that mower and the other mowers?
That mower they talk about is a wide area mower. It's called a wide area mower. It's actually got wings on the side, so it's got a cut of approximately 11'6". So it's not quite twice as wide as our current front deck mowers, but it does have a wider cut. The only trouble is with those mowers is you can't always use them with the wings down. And they are a little bit fragile.
Yeah.
And so does that mean that they can only do certain jobs, they won't be able to do?
They can do
smaller
other
areas?
jobs. They can do narrower cuts. But what I'm saying is anything where you've got wings that fold down, it's going to be more fragile. You're going to hit more things. Now, in my original report, when I originally drafted it, I wrote in there is merit in bringing the changeover down to 1,000 hours. Yep. We were going on 2,000 on the advice of the gentleman that was in charge of all mowing for council. That was his request, and we went with that. Now, the majority of our repairs aren't warrantable. They're from damage, and the companies won't take that. Because these, especially wide area mowers, they're really designed for running up and down golf fairways. You get a golf courses anywhere from 5 to 7 kilometres long, and they'll do multiple passes. They might do 30-odd kilometres a day on one of those, and they're only cutting like 10, 20 mil. The bulk of our mowers, we got some running parks, we got some running up the sides of roads. So the wear and tear on our mowers is considerably higher than some other places.
But through the chair, we don't have, David, do we, any really productive solutions for our,
Our
ovals
recommendation
and Gallus
bef-
Fox Park and, those.
Our recommendation before was to use our tractors with the roller mowers behind them. We don't own any roller mowers, but they'll give you a wide area cut. So it was a suggestion we made to the Roma overseer.
And price-wise, what are you looking?
Oh, they're about 40 odd thousand, depending on, again, on width. You can get them as wide as you want to with
But then you
wings.
need to have a tractor.
Yeah, but we do have 3 tractors in Roma.
And sorry, so also I'm just looking input into the report. Have we actually got feedback from the teams that are actually using the mowers? Like, is there feedback from the operators?
Not in this report.
Is the recommendation in this report?
The feedback was
based on-
direct.
Beg your pardon?
The feedback was directly to the mayor and the CEO when their visits to the teams, and that's where I believe the report originated from. The request for the report.
Well, I wasn't privy to that, and so I don't know what discussions were held there. But for me to make this decision, I just like to know, have the operators of the mowers been consulted with this recommendation?
Not with this recommendation, but that would happen when the replacement process for any of the mowers. We go to the operators, get their feedback, what's right, what's wrong.
And certainly what I would add is that certainly widespread feedback to me as CEO through the ECC as well as to staff, from staff, in relation to town and surrounds especially, is that they are struggling with having equipment that's fit for purpose. A lot of their equipment is aged and breaking down, and certainly one of the other aspects of it is they wanted to have more safer options, especially in relation to air-conditioned cabs and things like that. So do our staff need a bigger fleet? Yes, they do. I think there is an economic argument around some of the maintenance there to have it within the warranty period as opposed to outside of that. But clearly we are already challenged in relation to maintaining our town and surrounds at the moment. And we've got an extraordinarily wet year, and we know that we've got more work to do. And as you realise, councillors, we're getting continual requests from our members of our community about levels of service in relation to certainly our ovals, our reserves, Bassett Park, and certainly even Gallus Fox. So it certainly needs attention.
No, we got all in order. So it's Councillor McMullen is next, and then we go Burkett, Taylor, and then Ladbroke.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we don't have a policy at all at the moment, do we? So
I don't think so.
No, that's right. And I definitely believe we've got to buy some wider mowers. I'm not sure which is the best, but in listening to the manager of plant, but continually getting reminded from different people around town when they're mowing the football ovals, they're all around the camp draft ground over the back, they're mowing opposite Mandan Dangy, whatever we call that area, running around with a standard ride-on mower is not economical. So I mean, I'm open to which way we go, but we've got to do something with a larger, more economical.
Okay, Councillor Burkett.
I agree they need to be wide, especially with all the sporting fields, but I don't know about towing on a tractor. It's just going to cause more damage to the actual ovals. I think the zero-turn capability's so much easier on the operator, so much easier on the grass, well, better for the grass. I think there's a lot of merit in it because there's a lot of open spaces just in Roma itself. Whether there's other ones that double fields and stuff like that, I think, and whether there's driver education, that they need to be a bit more respectful to the machinery maybe. But
okay, now then it was Councillor Ladbroke.
Actually, it was
Councillor Taylor, then Ladbroke, sorry.
So I just have a couple of questions. When we did our 2022-23 budget, were you asked then what you needed as far as mowers and that go?
We did, but we had carryovers from the previous year of mowers because our target was...
So you didn't need them?
We didn't have any mowers. We could see that we're going to reach that. We already had some on order.
You said trouble with the COVID back order thing or something, didn't you?
Not necessarily, but some of them, the productivity, we picked out 4 mowers we thought were going to get up towards 2,000, so we had those in the budget. their utilisation wasn't that high, so they didn't get near the replacement trigger. So they were still in the budget the whole time. They just hadn't been purchased yet.
Okay, so you have 4 that you've budgeted for?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
But
Out of last financial year's budget.
Yeah.
That was 21-22's budget though,
Yes.
wasn't it? Rolled into 22-23.
What about the
Technically,
22-23
yeah.
budget?
Yeah.
What about the 22-23 budget?
No, we didn't have any more mowers than that.
Yeah.
You didn't ask for
No,
any more?
we already had some on order.
Okay.
We do have one big air-conditioned mower here in Roma, 6-footer.
I just have one more question. On page 16, there's a mower that says Deputy CEO. Who is that?
This information is drawn down from authority. That's now changed in the system to the Director of Regional Development Economics, and that is the old Director of CEO.
No, from before.
Yeah,
before the
but if
change.
you pulled the information out of authority, which is where this data comes from,
Yeah,
they
right,
used to pull down the old titles
So where's the mower?
at the airport.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's an airport mower?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, councillor Ladbroke?
Manager Dave, I was just wondering, with warranty with the mowers and that, is it on an hourly thing or a year? Like when you
It's
get a mower?
both, councillor.
Okay.
You'll get, often it'll be 2,000 hours and 2 years, something like that.
Okay, so we
Yeah,
get
some,
a couple
we
of
always try to
years.
get extended warranties if we can if something's got low utilisation, but it's every manufacturer's a bit different.
So once they get up to those 2,000 hours or 1,000 hours, there's no warranty?
No.
Okay, councillor Hancock, then Taylor.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Madam CEO, it is a large amount that we're pulling from cash reserves. Is our cash reserves figure, I don't know what that figure is anymore because we seem to be taking a fair bit from cash reserves. And so I'm just wondering, I'd like to know what that figure is before I pull that amount of money out of, for myself to vote on.
Yeah, look, through the chair, I'll hand over to our Director of Corporate Services, just in case he has it. But my understanding is it's in excess of 80 million,
And
Yeah.
is it actually included in our monthly financials?
Through the chair, do we do a cash breakdown?
So, just in response to that, first comment is that after the Q1 amended budget review, we're estimating our cash reserves are going to be approximately 71 million. The next question is in relation to reporting on a monthly basis. What I've requested is that we provide on a monthly basis as part of the monthly financial reporting commencing in December will be the cash operating ratio, which is the amount of cash you have sitting in the bank compared to your monthly operating expenses,
Yes.
which gives you roughly how many months of cash reserves you've got to cover off on expenses on an ongoing basis. So
That would be,
it's not currently in the existing report, but it will be commencing in December. So hopefully that will
that
give
will
you a
be
bit of comfort.
fantastic. Because it sounds like a lot of money, but it also, council needs a lot of money
Yes.
on a monthly
Yes.
basis to be able to cover it.
So as part of that narration, we will be talking around what our actual cash balance is as at the end of the month as well too. So hopefully that answers your
That'd be
question.
fantastic, thank you.
Okay, councillor Taylor.
I just wonder if we have enough staff for the mowers.
I couldn't answer that, councillor, sorry.
Through the chair, as far as I recall, just off the top of my head, and we have about 13 staff sitting in town and surrounds in Roma.
Sorry,
So
Edwina, I can't
we have apologies. We have about at least 13 staff in town and surrounds in Roma. So I would easily imagine that we've got staff to allocate to mowers.
Oh, but these aren't all going to Roma, are they? They're going out to the regions?
No, but just in answer to your question, certainly we've got 13 staff in Roma alone. So
Yeah, very
apologies for
pretty
that.
standard crews in the
Yep.
West region. Now, any other questions? We'll get on to the councillor McMullen. I had you down as seconding that. Was that correct? Okay, I'll speak to this. This is exciting. It is where we need to go. The feedback that I've had when I'm talking to staff is that workshops are clogging up with things that have to be fixed that are old and worn out. I do believe if we be the council of choice of being able to sell relatively low-hour machines, even though there's no warranty, and I take that because of damage, but the older a machine gets, the more it's prone to suffering failures. So I do believe that this is very, very important. Also, I do believe we haven't seen any major productivity changes in the mowing field for a long time, and this, with the inclusion of 2 wide area mowers, almost 5 metres at a time, with approximately 11 to 15, maybe more kilometres an hour, means that we can actually mow and keep the grass down, so our towns look immaculate. And if you mow all the time, you make the workload much less. I do believe that getting on a gradual program and focusing locally in each area, they know, the overseers know, the team leaders know what is needed, and if that's funneled, I should say, through to plant, obviously through the directors, this is going to be a good result. And I do believe it's actually going to improve council as an employer of choice, because we have good gear that that people actually want to drive, and I do believe that this is going to help with employee retention. Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Does anyone wish to speak?
No, Mr Mayor, I'd just
Please
like
go
to
ahead.
say definitely in support of this motion. In particular, we need to get some wider machines to get over our larger areas as quick as possible.
Okay, Councillor Burkett.
Yeah, I agree, and I think efficiency and productivity is what the community's asking for, and I think rotating our mowers and so they're at A1 standard all the time is going to be a good thing. And I do think education and training will sort those, and I think the staff will respect them a lot more, I'd like to think. But the community will see that progress. Like if they see a bloke doing half the time on a football field and he's already over onto the next, section of grass, they're going to see that as a good thing. And I think there is a lot of times when, in the wet period at the moment, there's been a lot of outside workforce that have been able to go onto the garden gang as such, and so I think there'll be plenty of times where we've got the men to run those ones, but I think it's a great thing. I'm fully supportive of it.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll sum up. We've certainly had feedback about Bassett Park and how the staff are under the pump out there, and I've been seeing since operating locally some really good things happening where other areas are coming in and helping and so forth. But I do believe wide area mowers at Bassett Park would reduce the amount of free up time that staff can be doing other things. So these is what any business would do in private enterprise, and I believe council needs to head in that direction. So I'm really looking forward to getting the next report back and getting the feedback from the local areas and the staff on the ground, because when I go around and speaking with employees, they certainly bring these things up. And it would be nice to see that we also have enough mowers that everyone can jump on a mower, whereas, we don't have enough mowers to do that. So some of that feedback and the planning locally, I believe, what we're doing with our staff is great, but I think giving them more tools and letting the decision makers make the decisions will be very beneficial for the organisation in the future. Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0, and we'll break for morning tea. We'll keep going. L4, request to amend adopted infrastructure charges notice. I'd like to move the council refuse the applicant's request as it cannot be lawfully supported under the Planning Act 2016. 2, bring back a policy framework around with the aim to reduce infrastructure fees significantly, so they will just be considered by developers as an extra fee that will not stymie development. And I'm happy for that to go through a briefing to talk about that.
What's that
So at the moment,
What's it mean?
stymie means it stops development. It's stymie. If I stymie you, I'm stopping you doing something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, we've had show and tell.
Constrict
today,
if
and
it's
you-
easier. Yep, that's fine.
Or through the chair, just to flip it and actually, so bring back a policy framework to a future briefing with the aim to reduce infrastructure fees to incentivise development.
Yeah,
That you
we'll
might be
definitely
potentially
significantly
looking
reduce.
at some kind of growth policy or.
Yep, I'm happy to put that in there.
I just go incentivise
Wouldn't you just
development,
stop
full
at,
stop.
at development?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that we can look at every
yeah.
possible thing? I've got a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Through the chair, Danielle, thanks for the report. And it's clear that under the legislation we can't do what's been requested. But if the interested party here was to build that second shed, could they then write to council seeking a concession fee waiver? Is that what I've gleaned in this?
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, they certainly could do that. Once we actually have a development approval and something to consider, if the applicant wanted to submit a request, then you could consider it individually on its merits at the time.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought that would be the case, but you can't deal with something that isn't there.
Correct.
Right, okay.
So just on point two, just put majorly reduce. We majorly reduce. Okay, I'd like to move that council, one, refuse the applicant's request as it cannot be lawfully supported under the Planning Act 2016. Two, bring back a policy framework at a future briefing with the aim to majorly reduce infrastructure fees to incentivise development. And I would put in there incentivise development as to be considered just another fee of council. And I can talk to that if we...
I don't understand what that means.
Well, so basically infrastructure fees, we have so many people trying to avoid them, whereas if we have another fee that's just another fee of council, then it wouldn't be on the same level of impact to developers, whereas now it's at a huge impact, and that's why everyone is writing to us, asking us to do something about it. And we most of the time waive them for a lot of groups. Okay, do we have a...
My concern is if I don't understand that, and I know you've explained it, but they won't understand it when they get their letter. And so I'm just like, if we just do infrastructure fees to incentivise development, won't that all be considered in the policy?
It will be, but when I've talked to developers, they have said, or not developers, just anyone wanting to do anything, they've actually said, and I've thought about this long and hard because it's been for the whole time in council. I think then if it was another fee, they know that they actually pay fees, council fees, and what we and charges. This would be another one of them rather than an overarching amount. Another fee of council.
If you stop at development, because the staff have been tasked to go away to at least bring back a policy framework, it can go wide, short, or whatever through that policy development rather than trying to articulate it today in a resolution. Far better to get that into the policy to then be adopted by council.
Right, I'll stop it at development.
And I'm happy to second it.
Righto.
Another question, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Through you, Chair. Manager Danielle, when we communicate this back to the applicant, will we also communicate the fact that once he has something that he can bring another request back to council, as we've discussed before?
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor, I can certainly do that.
Do you need that in the resolution, or is it just
I don't think so. I would,
communication?
yeah, I'd
process?
probably
Yeah.
have that conversation with him anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll speak to the motion. I do believe so much time has been taken up on infrastructure fees. I do know other councils don't even have them. Obviously, the larger councils do. I do believe we've got to get the balance right. I think they're at the wrong percentage, and if we get them right, then hopefully it'll create development in our region, which benefits the whole region. So certainly being in favour of this motion and hopefully move forward so we just have people wanting to do things rather than why they won't do things. Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion or for the motion? Please go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
I'm supporting it because I think it's timely to have a look at a policy framework where all councillors can have input into how we address the concerns that are raised and what the opportunities may present to be attractive for broader development in the region, while also recognising that to date the infrastructure charges that have been brought into council have been spent on some big ticket items as well for our community, and it's about getting the balance right. But I think a framework to allow broad input by councillors, but of course from the expertise from the staff, I think will be really important. And as the chair's already highlighted, there are some differences across councils, so it'd be good to have a look what other councils are doing to ensure that we get it right for our community and our region and future development.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks, Danielle.
L5 Country University Centre extension of lease.
We've got a conflict of interest to declare. Item L5, the description is Country University Centre extension lease frame. The declaring councillor is myself. The person with interest is myself, and the particulars of the interest are I'm a non-executive director and chair of CEC Maranoa. The type of conflict is a prescribed one, and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, so Country University Centre extension of lease. Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council 1 receive and note the report. 2, grant a 3-year extension of the Country University Centre lease for the Roma site due to expire in May 2024 under the same terms and conditions until May 2027. 3, provide a letter of support if required to any future Commonwealth funding round as continued support of the program. 4, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to execute any documentation necessary.
Got a question to the mover. Would you be willing to have something in there about council be recognised in lieu of this? This actually wasn't. I think that we were going to actually have a look at it down the track whether they could find another building. Are you interested in putting something in there we could be recognised as far as a major sponsor in regards to if we're going to basically go again with another lease?
In a letter, it says it would be challenging to find another facility. So at the moment, I think they're pretty well handled.
Yeah, but I think in the original proposal, that was to go there anyway, you know,
Well,
with
we
the
normally
council.
do it with everything that we,
Yeah, I think
do.
that was there to recognise Maranoa Regional Council.
Through the chair, are you asking that council be recognised and promoted as part of all relevant marketing in relation to the site?
yeah, because, you know, it is at a reduced.
Yeah.
It's up to the mover, of course, what the mover wants to move.
I'm happy. I mean, I think our sponsorship should be recognised. Is it? And I just want to make sure we get the right terminology, because it is a sponsorship, or it's use of the facility. It was a community facility to start with. Be recognised as a. I'm just concerned about using major sponsor, because I actually have no understanding of what another major sponsor and find like how much that. You know how I'm just so I'm, as a that council be recognised
As a significant sponsor.
that council's something be recognised as part of that council's
We had
contribution.
something- We had something last time, but I can't remember what it was.
The council's contribution be recognised as part of promotion and marketing, as part of relevant promotion and marketing, because I guess it depends on what they're marketing. That council.
It could be request our contribution be recognised as part of all relevant promotion and marketing.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah, something
fine.
that
Yep.
sounds-
That
Request our contribution be recognised as part of all relevant promotion and marketing. Through the chair, is that what you?
Yeah, no, I think that, because we sort of gave up the community hub and it was meant to be temporary till they found something, but this is going in a different direction.
Yeah.
Well, it's just got so big, hasn't it? Like,
And so successful. Yep, I'm happy to have that.
Okay.
I'll move to second it.
Seconder, councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish?
Just a question. for
Please
Kel.
go ahead.
Kel, you're probably going to tidy up, are you, Kel? One, your numbers? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, does the mover wish to speak to it?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I just want to acknowledge how successful the Country University Centre has been in our region. We get reports and the numbers are growing and growing. It's far outdone its expectations so quickly, and so any opportunity for council to support this fantastic initiative in our region, I think we should get behind. It certainly has filled a gap in our region, and I'd just like to congratulate the Country University Centre on their achievement, and wish them all the very best in the future, and wish them the best for their grant, their Commonwealth funding round, and the support that they need to continue the program in our region.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just also like to endorse Councillor Hancock's comments. I think it's a credit to the committee and also to Beck Coffey, the manager. I think it has exceeded our expectations. I think that's a good thing, and I look forward to them to branching out and hopefully have some satellite, so to speak, satellite centres in other small areas to help ease the load. But it's great to see that the younger generation are staying in the community and not having to go all the way to the bigger centre. So no, it's a credit to them, and wish them all the best with their funding.
Does anyone else wish to speak? I'll certainly speak. I'd certainly like to say, council has supported this from the beginning. Also like to pay respect to the officers that were involved in organising right from the beginning, as far as council's involvement. And I believe council is continuing to support by giving up a community hub building. Council has been there all the way, and look forward to working with the country universities, and especially the centre manager, Beck Coffey. I think has got a wonderful personality. And certainly, I believe she's a big part of why it's actually growing. And, you know, she certainly gives people confidence and enthusiasm about studying. And, yeah, it's just a great setup, and look forward to it continuing and growing. Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the move wish to sum up?
No, thanks.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
Okay, 7-0. L6, application permit to occupy Lot A on AP 21569. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council advise the Department of Resources that council has no objection to the permit to occupy being renewed over the reserve described as Lot A on AP 21569. That council recommend a short-term permit to occupy to the Department of Resources while a trustee lease is negotiated with the new permittee. Council to complete the Form C and authorise the CEO to sign the application as council's delegate.
We have a second to Councillor Ladbrook.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Through the chair, I'm guessing, Madam CEO, in the report, it says that the reason is that they're transferring from the old owner to a new owner. Well, there's only one owner listed in the report, so who are they transferring to?
No, through the chair, it's actually to make it clear is these are new owners, they've purchased the property, and what they were hoping was that they could assign the permit to occupy, which can't happen, and then they had to apply for a new permit to occupy, but they wanted that in perpetuity, and that's not the appropriate instrument for something like that. And so the recommendation from staff to the department, and you know, mutually, is to say, look, we should grant a permit to occupy for a short-term period with the aim of actually developing a trustee lease, which will be long-term. Neither parties have any objection to a trustee lease. It's just, you know, it's just a process that supports that.
Listed in the report. Sorry? There's only one party listed in the report.
Yeah, the owner of the land that's actually applying for the permit to occupy. So if they've purchased it, there's no other party. They are now the owner, the new owner of the land. Does that make sense?
It does. I just don't know if all the information's here.
What information do you want to know? Because really, at this point, what we're doing is, because council's practice is to reflect its support or not support for permits to occupy, trustee leases, etc. The final decision is actually made by the Department of Resources.
Through the chair, I think
Seamus.
it was a husband and wife partnership. I just don't have both of their names in front of me.
That's right. As the owners or as the new?
The owners of the aggregation, the property aggregation surrounding the reserve. So there's been an aggregation of properties sold from one family to another family. This reserve's kind of in the middle of those properties.
And through the chair, Seamus, on page 61, at the top of page 61 of the report, there are names that are mentioned there. Are they the people?
Yeah, yep, that'll be the ones.
Yes. So just at the top of page 61, the first dot point.
They're on the front page.
Oh, yeah. The applicants, Paul and Christine Johnson.
So, Councillor
That's
Hancock,
them,
do you want to know who used to own the lease?
Yeah, I would do. Thank you. Yep.
I think it was just off from memory, I think it was the Oars, if that rings a bell. ORRS. That sort of name came to me.
Okay, so I move we lay this on the table till we get that information.
I don't know where Councillor Hancock's coming from.
And till later in the meeting. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. So of the
Mayor.
previous
Mr Mayor,
lease
can you
order.
adjourn the meeting for a moment, please?
Yeah. Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting. On with the meeting, we're on to L7. What page have we got there? Blair?
104.
Thank you. Okay, L7, request for view renewal of term lease on lot WV 803395 Mount Saltbush Road, Mooga. Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move the council advise the Department of Resources that council has no objection to the term lease being renewed over the reserve described as Lot 1 on WV 803395, provided all conditions of the term lease are met.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
Okay, that's 8-0. Okay, L8, brochure holders in public amenities and community men's sheds. I'd like to move that council install display frames next to hand washing facilities in key public amenities and men's shed facilities. If the groups approve, in the Maranoa region for the purpose of displaying community wellbeing information. 2, include the project in the 2022-23 Maranoa Regional Council operational plan. 3, this project and ongoing management of the display information be included in the works program for the respected local area teams. Councillor Burkett.
I'm happy to second it. Just that probably need to add in Amby. In the Bringa area, you've got Mitchell Mangalala. Just need to add in Amby.
Yep.
The hall toilets there.
Righto, so in point 1, including Amby.
Oh, it's missing in the report.
No, it's not in the.
No, but we can just put it in the motion and then they'll.
You've got Maranoa region, it's just
Yeah,
that it's not in here.
You just want all facilities
Well,
in the Maranoa region.
as long as it gets covered, that's all I'm saying. It's just missing out of the report.
And so Surat, actually one of our main facilities is missing our Surat, and that's the Surat Recreation Grounds. So that would be one that you'd definitely.
Then I suppose there's a few, like all the showgrounds and all that too.
Oh no,
so-
this isn't a showground. That's not the Wuru Sporting Complex. It's a public toilet. It's not.
Yeah, but I'm saying in showgrounds, the public toilets as well, warehouses on the highway as well, same thing. So there's probably needs to be emphasised all public toilets.
Well, they've got in here key public amenities.
Yeah, just
That's
not in the
starting
report. It was
with.
missing. That's all.
Yeah, through the chair. So we captured everything, Amby and Surat recreation.
Wuru, and then obviously because the showground toilets in Mitchell are on the highway, they're universal. They're not just used for the show. They're used for public. There's a dump point and everything there.
So have we got everything?
But by having Maranoa
Yeah.
region, the staff.
Yeah, I understand that.
Good enough.
I'm just saying, but in the report, we always go back to the report. There's some missing, so we just emphasise
Yep, sure.
that it gets done.
Rather than we say key, we'll say all public amenities. Right?
Oh, that's
bigger, isn't it?
huge.
No, but all public. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, the council public amenities, aren't you talking about?
yeah, you can't segregate. Someone might use that toilet as opposed to that one. You can't. You know, it's got to be all. Like,
All public amenities, simple.
Well, you either want key or you want all, you know?
some people's key, they mightn't use them.
I think they're relatively small costs, so I'm happy to have all public amenities.
And do we have to put the, like, there's no cost in that resolution, so we probably need to
No, I
put-
think they're absorbing it in their budget.
Yeah.
They were saying,
Is it in
just.
their operational
yeah,
budget?
Yeah, just in their existing
Estimated
operational
cost
budget.
up to 4,720.
but each area would be absorbing it.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, look, through the chair, facilities actually has a budget. The way I read the budget is that it will be debited to that existing budget.
But we normally put a costing if we're spending money and it's not budgeted.
But I don't think.
Only if it's new costing. What we're saying is they're absorbing it in the existing budget.
Yeah, no, the office.
Happy to take it on notice, but
The officers did the report, so
yeah.
they must have a budget for us, they'd be asking. Okay, Councillor Burkett, you happy to, you second that, you said that?
Yeah.
Righto, I'll speak to it. I think really it's extremely difficult to reach a lot of people with mental health issues, and sadly we have the tragedy of hearing about tragedies afterwards. I think this is a good one where if we can get some of those messages from Beyond Blue and other organisations where they talk about everything from anxiety to mental health and so forth, I think it's a really crucial message, and hopefully we can provide, confidential ways they can ring a phone line or make contact with someone in a confidential manner, which hopefully will encourage them to reach out. So we've seen this done very successfully, and it could be something that really it's a very small financial initiative, but it could have a major impact on our mental health of a region of our residents. So I'll certainly be supporting it. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak against the motion or for the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0.
Page 118.
Thank you. L9, tender 23008 Maranoa Community Kindergarten Centre, Lot 13 on R8613. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 select the Croatian Kindergarten Association Limited as the recommended tenderer for tender 23008 Maranoa Community Kindergarten Centre lease and operation. 2, accept the variations as outlined in the Statement of Departures. 3, organise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into final negotiations with the Creche and Kindergarten Association Limited and finalise the lease. 4, assign income to GL 1491.1075.1003 Council's Buildings and Facilities Operating Revenue Lease Income.
Councillor Taylor.
I'm happy to second it. I just have a question, and I might be missing it, but how much are they paying per annum?
Yeah, through the chair. Look, I was going to ask the same question myself. Certainly happy to get the officer to advise us. The Statement of Departures talks about up to $10,000 per annum.
Yeah,
Final amount to be negotiated.
Yeah, but it doesn't actually say.
No, and through the chair, good practice would be to put a figure into the resolution.
I might have to lay it on the table is all.
Well, it depends whether, do you want to lay it on the table? Like, it sounds like they're willing to negotiate on that.
We're willing to negotiate, like this is our tender, isn't
yeah,
it?
but
Like this is us.
Okay.
So, through the chair, the recommendation is to accept the Statement of Departures. So if council doesn't want to accept the Statement of Departures or use them as a reference point, or can use them as a reference point, you can, so for argument's sake, is in the Statement of Departures, because the wording is ambiguous, up to $10,000 per annum, final amount to be negotiated, council may choose to amend this recommendation to reflect an amount, and which could be up to $10,000 per annum, or it may indeed be a lower amount of money. Just noting that they are the single applicant to the tender. And you have
But
tested the
They
market.
don't really know what they're paying because we haven't given them a fee, have we? Or they haven't put their hand up and said, we're gonna pay whatever we're gonna pay.
Just so,
Up to 10,000, so do we make it 9,999?
that's right, yeah, through the chair,
Council.
yes, you can.
You can, but Councillor Taylor, there's only one person putting in for it, and if we have an empty kindergarten, that would be.
Oh, I'm not saying don't,
No.
I'm just asking the question, like, they need to know how much they're putting their hand up for, don't they?
That's right.
Could you approve it subject to final negotiation?
Yes, yeah, through the chair, yes, you could, because your point two, accept the variations as outlined in the statement of departures, subject to final negotiation, or you could refer specifically for an amount of $10,000 per annum.
Number 3 says for the CEO to enter into final negotiations.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm happy with that, I just wondered why we didn't put in a figure that was.
Yes, look, through the chair, if, giving me some direction as to how much you think is an appropriate amount, if you're happy enough for me to be guided by the statement of departures.
Do we know what they've been paying
Yeah,
before?
you'd have to know that.
No, through the chair, I don't.
Okay, Councillor Taylor, you happy to second that?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Righto.
I'm happy
Okay.
for it to happen, it's just a bit of an open-end book from their side as well as our side, that's all.
Okay, so does the mayor wish to speak to the motion?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Okay, I'll speak to it. I'm very concerned to make sure that we have operators in this space. Challenges in teaching and education as well as childcare, everyone knows, so I'll be supporting locking in that we have someone. I think it's more important to provide a good service than really worrying about the revenue, because in everything else that we've got challenges with, the revenue's the last of the issue. It's about providing a service and making sure people can come here and be supported with the services in the Maranoa. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Taylor?
I'm not going on about I don't care about the income either, I just thought it was, if it's a tender, they would put in a figure, that's all I was saying. I'm happy for it to go ahead and happy that they're there, that's not my problem. It just seems to be open-ended, that's all.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. Okay, L10. Water connection request for outside rural water supply. Do we have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to have council approve the water supply connect located outside the current designated regional domestic water zone with a special water supply agreement with the following conditions. 1, payment of the standard water connection fee with the water supply meter installed adjacent to the boundary within the existing water supply location. 2, service connection shall be 50mm PN12 blue line polythene pipe to be classed as a low flow system connected directly into a site storage tank located within the boundary of the property. 3, all installation and future operational maintenance costs associated with the service located within the road reserve shall be the owners of Lot 8 DUB 833's cost. 4, service installed within the Piggery Lane Road Reserve at a position 2 metre from the property boundary with a minimum of 600mm coverage with an improved marker tape laid that trench 300mm above the service. 5, as constructed drawing of the service location shall be provided to the council in the following format. A, 2 hard copies on minimum A3 format. B, electronic copy in AutoCAD 2000 format.
We have a second to Councillor McMullen. I'm just wondering, do we need to clarify it? Should it have the restrictor in there, or is this
I think it
pressurised?
says at the low flow, I think that's...
So that sort of says the same thing.
Mr Mayor, I think the director might be online.
Hello, Seamus, are you online?
Yep, sorry, I was just chasing up the landholder contact details.
Yes, okay. Look, Seamus, we have a question from the floor in relation to the terminology. Just if Councillor McMullen, you'd like to repeat that question, or
No, it's
Mr. Mayor?
Well, it was actually myself. Normally, when we're going out of town, it depends if we've got any water issue providing full pressure, but we have a restrictor in there, so it puts so many litres per hour through the system. With this one on L10, water connection request for outside rural water, is that what that means by low flow system?
I think it's just a classification. I don't know if there'll be any restrictor in there. I think it'll just be classed as a low flow system so that when you're making future planning decisions, that'll be taken into consideration. So what I would imagine is if someone applies for something that requires a high flow system, you know, they would need to pay for that upgrade, or we need to consider that as part of that development. Right. So it's just a classification.
Yeah. So do you have any concerns about having pressurised water out along there?
No, I've taken that's advice from Wayne Mills, who's very competent in these matters. So
right. Okay.
no concerns.
Councillor Burkett?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, back when I was on council, we installed that first section, and that was before the new bore and the new reservoir was up on top of Bottle Tree Hill. So there'd be more pressure there now, but yeah, that line was put in back in before amalgamation, so the existing one.
Righto. Okay. Righto. So where we're up to, I think we're going to the vote.
First and a second, yep, that's right.
And everyone's spoken that wished to?
He didn't know. No, we're just questions.
Okay. Does the mover wish to speak?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I think this is another one that's enhancing people to progress the smaller communities, and all those blocks are 80-acre blocks down there, so there's room to subdivide down the track, so it gives that livability and more opportunities for people to move into semi-rural. Also gives the existing landowner security award, and I think it's a good thing.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Then we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. Okay, L11, Easter in the Country 2023 increase in funding. Do we have a mover?
Mr. Mayor, can I just mention I did an S170A about 2 weeks ago asking for a detailing of the in-kind assistance just to find out. I know there's a little bit of division about whether or not they're actually receiving that amount of money. I just thought it would be helpful to know exactly what the amount of money listed includes.
And just to follow on that, Mr. Mayor, I wasn't at the deputation, but I was a bit confused too why they were asking. I thought that would have been discussed at the actual meeting. I don't know why, because that was brought up previous, why it wasn't brought up in the actual deputation, because it's getting asked again here, so I thought that was a bit strange.
And look, through the chair, apologise, councillor, we do have that information. I just don't have it with me, but from memory, the in-kind assistance was about 17,000 last year.
It was 17. It's actually in the report.
In the
as
report. Good
well.
on you.
So on page,
apologies for that.
Sorry, I'm not sure what your numbering is, but on the second page of that report, in background.
Is that detailed amount?
Yeah, so that's page 191, councillors.
So just to follow on from that, Mr. Mayor, my confusion was if I read the letter of request from the Easter in the Country executive, there seems to still be confusion as to what they think they've been receiving as to what we're thinking that we're giving. Just wondering if that can be resolved or if that can be communicated just so that we're on the same level playing field.
I could, Mr. Mayor. So as in the briefing I did talk about the other day was around the fixation around the dollar amount as opposed to what are the in-kind services that the council can provide. And so rather than getting fixated around, you said you were going to give us $15,000 in-kind support. We don't think we did. We've costed it now at 17, and it's actually more than that because we haven't added some labour into that. And so their request around and sorry, I think I'm repeating some of that, but in request to this one around, there's a cash component that council should consider today around how much you would like to contribute. And then with respect to putting a dollar figure around the in-kind of 20, whatever their request was, 25, what we've done is gone back to them and said, what are the services that you would like from council to make it a successful event? I'll then cost that out. If you need a dollar value to that, that's fine, but we should be focused on the outcome, which is what are the in-kind support that I can provide you, not on a dollar figure. And so I'm trying to separate that fixation around, you said $20,000 worth, but you only gave us 17,000. Like, I'll make it $20,000 worth, but it shouldn't be like that. It should be, what are the things you need from us?
Councillor Hancock.
Oh, yes, Mr Mayor, and through you, Director Dean, that's exactly right. And that's what we did for the Cobb and Co Festival. They didn't come up with a figure. They came to council with the list of how they need council to assist them, and then council went about assisting them with that. And so that's exactly how that worked, and it worked really successfully. I'm wondering then with that, whether it is just assist the Easter in the country and facilitate their in-kind assistance requests, including full stop. Or another idea would be to put it to up to the value if council wants to.
Otherwise, it doesn't get out of hand.
You know, so it does. So we're actually doing that. So I'm just thinking maybe we just put up to the value of $20,000, and then it's just communicated. Tell us what you need. If they need more than that, well, then that's when you can come back to council, I guess. So, but I'm happy to move that, Mr Mayor.
We've already got up to 20,000 in here, though.
To the value of
Well,
20,000. So what I'm saying is up to, like it's not.
Well, Mr Mayor, that's where I was a bit confused, and this is not a shot at you guys. That's why I thought they would have discussed at the deputation is let full council know what they wanted, because I agree, you can't.
For the income.
I don't know how they can say, oh, we didn't get $20,000 worth unless they know what every hourly rate and so
it was touched on, to be fair.
But it again comes back as a letter. I'm with Councillor Hancock. In the past, they send a list in like all the other clubs. Just a bit confused.
So between that deputation and the briefing, we're in discussion with them about articulating what are all the types of things you would like from us.
Yep.
I can value that then if it needs to be. But
and that's what they want as well. They want to understand that.
Can I ask, but do we have a list that might be not in money, but in what we've charged to Easter in the country or the different parts of Easter in the country from last year, or is it that we don't have that? Like, we got these amounts with the dollar amount, or is it like the $5,000 and materials and services, internal plant, but does it say, like, for instance, Bassett Park, 12 hours or something, and that council could see, but also maybe Easter in the country? Or is it a huge amount of work to do that, and we're better off to start with next year and just doing it again?
We obviously, in pulling together those rounded up figures that you have in front of you, we've got some more detail about that. How much of that I can produce and have available, I'll work on something that could be made available.
Because, from my point of view, I don't want anything to be onerous or wasting a lot of time on it, but my question is it there? And if it is, it could be rough as, but it's just there and it's just labour times or something, so council can look at it and share it with them. Because I too, it was sort of challenged that we weren't spending the amount of money, and I think it's important. And next year, hopefully, we get more detail around it and we get their list as was said. But my question is actually getting the list of what we did this year. It doesn't matter how rough it is, but so we know. Are we talking apples with apples and so forth, But if it's a huge amount of time to do that and we don't have it, then we're better off to say, why don't we start next year on it and do it,
We would have information about it, but what I was politely suggesting is to be more focused around the services you want that they would like from us. from a accounting point of view and understanding where our money's going, yes, we will cost that. Is that a matter for the public and the eastern in the country? I don't know. It's more around these are the services that we provided. How I achieve that and the way in which that's funded within is a different matter. So,
Councillor Hancock.
And once again, I'm happy to move it. I'm just wanting to double check something. Point 2, where it says charge the additional $5,000 sponsorship to the sponsorship budget. Would it be better to transfer the additional $5,000 from the sponsorship budget over into the Easter in the Country line item budget so that we actually have that expense all in one area? Because Easter in the Country have their own line item in the budget, and so I'm just thinking that we should be transferring the $5,000 from the sponsorship budget into that budget so that when we're reporting, it actually has all that in one spot.
I think that's what the terminology is meant to mean. I think it might be just through the chair, the wording, because you said charge the additional $5,000 sponsorship to the sponsorship budget. And councillor, what you're saying is charge that budget, but transfer it across to the Easter in the Country line.
Into the Easter in the Country line, not
Just have, the other side of the transaction.
Yep. Is that?
I think that would then give a true reflection of what Easter in the Country are receiving in terms of our sponsorship.
Yeah, that's right. It's that one, and then everything can go against that one line item.
Yep.
And I just wonder if you're going to move it, Councillor Hancock, that last stop point, it might be better not to have a figure in there at all in the first instance, and assist East in the Country and facilitate their in-kind assistance requests, including hire fees, materials and service, internal plan and labour, and that information be provided in a future report so that we are capturing it, because historically we didn't have a dollar figure on in-kind for East in the Country or Roma Cup, but we were spending ratepayers' money through the in-kind support, and so we embedded in there a process to come up with a figure. So there was a methodology to get to a figure once upon a time. It probably does need to be reviewed, and I'm going back 8 or 9 years now to when we did that. So by not having a figure, at least that empowers both the staff and Easter in the Country to come up with what a true indication is of the in-kind, and allow council then to put a value on that as to what, because you might come back and say it's 30 grand, but we only have the capacity for 20,
So, Councillor Guthrie, you said you had a S170A in or whatever. Are you happy to make a decision on this today, or did you want to lay it on the table, or?
No, I'm happy to continue. I think my concern has been answered sort of informally today. So I'm good to vote today.
Councillor Hancock.
Mr Mayor, I move that Council 1, increase Easter in the Country sponsorship to $20,000. 2, transfer the additional $5,000 sponsorship from the sponsorship budget GL 2887.2249.2001 to the Easter in the Country budget line item. That might not be the right word, but to the Easter in the Country budget.
Sponsorship budget.
Sponsorship budget. 3, assist Easter in the Country and facilitate their in-kind assistant requests, including hire fees, materials and services, internal plant and labour, and that the costs are captured in a report. To be considered by council.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? Councillor Hancock.
Mr Mayor, I think that the Easter in the Country committee do an amazing job each and every year for our region, and I think that they have been doing that on a smaller sponsorship budget, and the costs are going up every year, and so I think that it is timely that we increase it this year. I think that the economic development behind this event for our region is a fantastic flow-on effect to our communities, and it is certainly worth the investment. And as for the in-kind, I just encourage them to bring their list of what they need to the council and let us see how we can fully support this event in our region.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor O'Neill.
I'm going to support this. I had the opportunity by invitation to chair the Eastern of the Country AGM in the last couple of weeks, and I got to hear their future vision for this wonderful event. And the current President Jenny Flynn is coming up to her 10th anniversary as President of Eastern of the Country, and there has certainly been a new life put into this festival off the back of the wonderful volunteers that got it off the ground all those years ago. And I think as a council we need to back events like this. It is a huge economic stimulus to our region each and every year, and I think the contribution we're making is multiplied significantly in return for our community and the broad economy of the Maranoa. So I'm very happy to support this, and if we can sort out the in-kind so that we can put that to bed, and there's certainty from an Eastern of the Country perspective and from a council perspective, then I think that's a really good outcome from this discussion.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Then does the move wish to sum up?
No, thank you.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. L12, proposed drainage structure, Unnamed West Road. I'd like to move that Council, 1, receive and note the summary of written and verbal feedback received in relation to the proposed drainage structure at chainage 8.750 on Unnamed West Road. 2, endorse proceeding with the design of a reinforced concrete box culvert at the nominated location on Unnamed West Road as per the approved 2022-23 budget. Write to all landowners along Unnamed West Road advising of Council's decision. And then 4, consider the cost of the construction of the reinforced concrete box culvert at the nominated location at part of future quarterly reviews, and also decisions on funding of LRCI, future funding rounds.
Mr Mayor, just a question.
Yep.
Just on that, that's not going to hold the project up, is it?
No, the design is being funded in this year's budget, so that's happening, but that's actually fast-tracking it more than saying future budget.
Okay, so through the chair, is that really about considering the source of funding in the next LRCI funding round, which is
quarterly
phase 4?
reviews and also LRCI funding rounds.
Right.
Future
Okay.
ones.
You want plural review, quarterly review, you want the next quarterly.
Well, it mightn't get up in the next one, so I want to keep putting it to the attention. How do we fund it? So it might be the next
Future quarterly review.
future quarterly reviews. I'm happy.
And if the officers don't have it ready for the next one, they can follow on.
One today.
Well, that's only what I'm guessing you're at, because you're trying to take it.
Right. Do we have a second for the motion? Councillor McMullen.
Excuse me, Mr Chair.
Yeah.
Could I just suggest one minor sort of
sure.
change just in dot point number 4 there?
Yep.
Would it be, could we just add, consider funding the cost of, just so that, I just think it's for completeness if we sort of makes it clear that it's currently unfunded to the community.
That's good.
If you're happy with that, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good. Is the second happy with that?
More than happy.
Righto. Righto. I'll speak to it. I believe that this is an unusual situation, but I do believe that there is some issues that it's affecting the land in that area, and I do believe it needs to be dealt with. And this is sort of working on best practice that we would do today. So I do believe that this won't affect anyone using the road and having the same access, but also letting the water go and doing that so it's probably more natural how it operates. Does anyone else wish to speak? Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0.
Thanks, gents. Thank you.
Okay.
We've got a couple that we laid on the table in the first agenda that we probably can go back to.
We got the info?
Or some of the information.
Which one is that? Kel, what have you got there? What's these?
14.1, which is the Bowls Club. We've got information shared with us on that.
Oh, yeah. Don't know if we got the 13.3 yet, no.
We'll just adjourn for a minute. First on your agenda, out of those three. 14.1.
Which is, through the chair, page 76.
14.1, infrastructure charges concession for non-for-profit organisations and community groups. We had something on that one.
Can I leave the room?
Oh, yeah,
through the
please
chair.
go ahead. Did we have anything on that?
This,
Yeah, that's what I
we were
read
just
out to you just
through the
before.
chair.
Yeah, no. I mean, did we have anyone move
You
or?
started to, and then I asked a question.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
Yep. And so I was
Okay.
just adding
I think
that.
you.
Right, so
Yeah,
No, you didn't.
it is, sorry, 2022.
I'd like to move the council waive the infrastructure charges associated with the listed development permits. 1/2020/20116, material change of use retirement facility 47 to 49 Duke Street, Roma.
Mayor, are you doing any, it's in open, so you probably don't need to read all of it. You can just do 1 to 4 and then add number 5.
All right, okay.
Because it's open.
Good idea.
What about people on the video, but how do they get to hear what it's about?
It's open.
Eh?
You can read it.
No, but if they don't, if they just watch the tape, then they don't. So I think for completeness for the people listening online, I think we should read it. It's not that long. So material change, yeah, I said that. Retirement facility 47 to 49 Duke Street, Roma, Pinaroo, Roma Incorporated. 2020/20118, material change use, Tourist Park, Gagan Road, Roma, Roma Clay Target Club. 3, 2020/282, material change use, educational establishment, 49 to 69 Bowen Street, Roma, St John's Catholic School, Roma. 2018/19785, material change of use, caretaker residence, 44670 Warrego Highway, Roma, Cities Football Club. And 5 is 2022/20692, material change of use, Tourist Park, 35 to 37 Lovell Street, Roma, Roma Bowls Club. We have a second to Councillor McMullen. Any opposition?
No, Mr Mayor, I'm just wondering if you would consider adding something in.
Yeah, what do you have there?
I just wonder if we could put in, it says that council waive the infrastructure charges associated with the listed development permits and inform the organisations of the amount waived by a written letter or inform them. I just think it's important that we actually inform them of, you know, some of this is a fair bit of money that is being waived, and so.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. The other question is, I'm just wondering, the officer's not here. If one of these has an issue with maybe privacy and so forth, should we waive it but also ask whether some privacy could be considered?
Similar to the issues we had at the.
Yeah, like to, Beg pardon?
It's all in the open report here.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, but we can, like, it's almost like, could we also say, you know, like, well, CEO, like, if we decided to waive it but said, look, could you, for instance, do a better fence or something, nothing to do with the conditions of the DA, but what council is doing for waiving the fees, like trying to work with the you know.
Thinking more people come back and
That'll be a condition of a development application.
But what
So
happens
what,
if it's not? What happens if we want to do something outside
So
the DA?
is what I'm hearing that you're saying is that you waive infrastructure charges in lieu of them doing another action?
Yeah, like, nothing to do with the DA, that's a process that happens with the staff, right? But what I'm saying is, what happens if the process in the end still, you know, might not meet community expectations, and there's something else that we could add to it as part of the negotiations with the DA on point 5?
Mr Mayor,
Not the DA, separate to the DA.
I'd like to think that after the changes we made at the other caravan park in regards to, well, my concern would be going from A to B, from showers to back to the van sort of thing, that they might have made a change or might have had that in there, eh?
Nothing.
Isn't there showers in the bowls club?
Self-contained vehicles, no,
Oh, right, sorry.
Rubbish, rubbish, I think in that when it came out before, they had to paint guideline, caravan bays and provide rubbish.
Yeah, no, that's the only concern I had.
No, but what I'm saying is, for instance, just say there's obviously people that are concerned about it, maybe that might have, you know, worried about the impact. Is it something we should be considering, completely separate to the DA, to do with improving the look there?
So through the chair, am I hearing you say, because you've got a report and what's germane to the report is the recommendation is that these charges actually come with the development permits, and the report asks for the waiver of that. What you're really talking about is, if it's not about the infrastructure charges or the development permit, it's actually about imposing another condition on the permit. You can look at that in lieu of development charges, or you're just imposing another condition, because I'm assuming there's only one of the 5 that you want to impose additional conditions on.
Well, you know, and councillors probably know what feedback they've had, but it's almost like if we're waiving something, is there some way of working together? Not the DA, like the
No,
officers.
I understand that, is that there might be another outcome you want to achieve, and council's, you know, giving a concession with public money. Is that what you're saying?
It's code accessible.
That's right.
It's code accessible, it's nothing.
Yeah, no, but we have authority over whether we give a fee waiver.
Yes, well, that's not what you're suggesting.
No, nothing to do with the DA, like, leave that process to the side. I'm saying, if we decide to, like, we're doing this for community benefit if we're waiving a charge, right? But if we know, so the DO's code accessible, we got nothing to do with that. It's a bit like saying we're getting some feedback about the look of a certain thing. Can we work together to do something about the look of it from the road or whatever?
We
So-
have to put something in there that would then affect every applicant.
Yeah.
But not part of the DA, I'm saying.
But this is an infrastructure charge that comes from the development application. So they're not asking us, the audit has identified that there are 5 not-for-profit organisations that have outstanding infrastructure charges, and it's been put to us to be consistent what we've done on an ad hoc basis with other not-for-profit organisations, and that's to remove infrastructure charges. What you're suggesting is putting a condition on them, which
Not
I'm
a
with the
condition.
Deputy Mayor, we can't do that.
No, not a condition. No, it's not about the DA. Like,
But it would be
We've got nothing else to work with them.
Yeah. It is a condition. You're saying we won't waive this unless you do this.
No, what I'm saying is there a way to work together to, for instance, if it's about a fence or something up.
There's no fences, Mr Mayor.
I know, but it might be, it wasn't a problem, it was a car park, and now maybe it's a caravan park in the same space. So the question is, what do we do if people are looking at it from a point of view? And I was just thinking that it could maybe create a conversation, but maybe it's a different way.
DA, but, Mr Mayor?
Beg pardon?
Wouldn't that have been covered in the DA when they done all that? what you're asking?
No, because it's code assessment.
Don't know.
Impact
But I'm not actually, the officers are doing the DA process. So what I'm saying is we're actually giving a fee waiver, and is there some way to work with them to improve the outlook of that area? Maybe there is no way, I don't know.
But we could go back to these people and then work with them, where they could, as a not-for-profit, apply for a grant to put a fence in, or there's another way to skin the cat here, and I don't think it's the approach that you're trying to take, because the infrastructure charge is a condition of that development application.
Yeah, it's separate. Need to do it a separate way, yeah.
Okay, so we got that up on the screen, Kel.
Just my wording, Cal, was just and inform the organisations by way of a written letter of the value of the waiver, or a written letter, the value.
That includes the
Including the value.
value of the,
Oh yeah, that includes
Fee
the
waiver.
value of the fee waiver.
Okay, is the seconder happy with that?
More than happy, Mr. Mayor.
Righto, well, that's the motion. Does anyone want to speak to the motion? Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
7-0.
What's the next one, Kel?
Yes.
It was the ambassador, Cal, it was
Ambassador,
L
yeah.
point. L3.
Okay,
Page 9.
page 9. So I'll just, through the chair, councillors, I think I've got an email, so I'll just circulate it. But look, in relation to the question around was there an available area budget in relation to this, is what the officer has got back to me is to say, yes, there is. It's not large, but it is there, and I will just circulate that to councillors. The current budget is, the current budget in the report is 14,000, and the amount that they're talking about by the end of this transaction, if 5 ambassadors are able to attend the region, is 20,000, and there is a small budget available in each area that could cover that gap, and
that's worst case scenario if they all
yes,
lob up.
so it would be broken down into. Sorry, councillors, I'm just trying to send this and talk at the same time.
To the officer, did we used to get more money from the Premier's department?
No, we've never been given any budget from the Premier's department. They've always just covered costs. The previous 2 years, council's given some extra money for the ambassadors because there was a gap. But I don't know about the budget. I don't know about previous budgets, but the last 3 Australia Days we've had the 14,000, but there was no ambassadors coming at that time, and then we restarted the ambassadors program, and it was just under $4,000 from the top of my head that we got for the 2 years, which we gave back last year because we were allocated 5 ambassadors, but because of COVID, they didn't actually end up coming to the region last minute. So we obviously were able to cancel accommodation costs and that. So,
if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Just to clarify to all the council, I think just moving forward, if we had a budget of 20,000, that should be able to cover us for rising costs each year and be able to cover the 5 ambassadors that could potentially attend. If they don't attend, then we can hand that budget back to the regular revenue stream.
Righto. So, Councillor Ladbrook, what do you want? Do you want 5 or do you want 2, or how many are you chasing?
Well, if we put 5 and we don't get 5, it doesn't matter. Up to 5, it only says approve inclusion of up to 5. If we don't get them, it doesn't matter then.
Councillor Taylor?
Just a question. This isn't the answer to our question.
no, I was just going to raise that.
Our question was, wasn't there money allocated in the budget for directors?
No, through the chair, I'm not sure where you got your information from, but there's a small amount of money that's allocated across each of these areas for what would you call it, Matt? What was the amount?
Well, through the chair, our operating budget for example, is 7.6 million with projects, and that's just generally allocated to all the regular items, waste, sewage, directorate, customer service and so forth for all wages and all materials and services. So, at this stage, I couldn't say that we have a defined amount that you're talking about, so we'd have to take it on notice if that's the case.
And through the chair, what you...
I think we might have talked about it, but I don't know where we...
I'm sure it was one of the steps in the organisational structure that these.
There was a budget attached to each area.
Yeah, there was a budget attached.
Your budget is sliced into each areas, but
No,
there's
I don't mean millions. I
discretionary
just
budget.
mean like I'm sure it was 200 or 200.
Discretionary line
Yeah,
item.
it was a
You
discretionary
adopted the
amount.
budget. No, it doesn't look like that, certainly from our side. And this budget is actually the local development projects
Yeah,
budget.
it's actually the LDO budget.
It is. It would be we would be looking at taking $1,000 from each of the local development projects, which is the LDO budgets, as we refer to them, to cover the costs if there were 5 ambassadors.
Yeah.
And currently they do have that money at the moment in their budgets.
Through the chair, just to clarify again, there was a resolution to council back in 2021 that allocated an additional 3,250 for on top of the 14,000. So that wasn't included in our budget this year, most likely due to COVID and there was no ambassadors that actually attended last year. So therefore we've had to find some extra money this year in this year's budget to accommodate that.
And where did that money in that 21 year come from?
The 14, but that was just our regional budget, the 14,000. It was originally meant to have an increase of 3,250, but due to ambassadors not attending, it wasn't used. For this, I guess there would have been a reasonable assumption that that budget may not have been used fully.
But the one in 21 where you said there was a motion to add it, but it never went to the next year, where did they get that money from?
It was in the, through to you, Mr Mayor, the motion actually stated that it would be reviewed in the quarterly one budget review. It didn't actually state a specific budget that it came from.
Nothing ventured because we didn't go ahead with it.
So that it was
That's
going to
correct.
be in the budget review. I guess for this year, we're proposing that the extra, just under 5,000, but $1,000 from each of the local development budgets would go towards funding the 5 ambassadors, which Premier's Department indicated we've got a reasonable chance of getting. I guess for the future, the other thing to consider, and you could add it in this motion, or it could be something we could bring a report back and do later, is to actually increase the Australian Aid budget to, say, $20,000 each year, so that that will include ambassadors, because when 2 or 3 years ago it was 14,000 but we weren't using ambassadors, and each year we come back and ask for a bit more money. So if we increased it to 20,000, then we wouldn't have to come back each year. That would include any costs of having ambassadors.
Okay, that's good. Councillor Ladbrook, you've got a way to do it there with the amounts there. Did you, if you were happy with that, did you want to read that?
Just got another question, sorry.
Please go ahead.
To get this over the line today, understanding that we can draw it from those budgets, but I'm just looking at the resolution from last year where we're going to adjust the quarter one. I wonder whether we could draw it from here now, but to adjust it, the quarter one review, only because, quarter two review, or future quarterly review, only because I'm very aware that we're probably taking a significant portion of the local development officers' budgets that they would normally spend elsewhere within the communities, and so I'm just aware of that, and so whether that's an option that we could look at it at a quarterly review.
Mr Mayor, I don't know about the other councils, but I know my budget, for example, the local development projects budget is 4,200, so it's approximately 25% of my budget, just to give councillors an indication. I'm assuming that the other areas would have similar size budgets.
Councillor McMullen.
Yeah, I guess in line of what Councillor Hancock said, I understand what she's saying need to maybe put something, because at this point in time, we are going to allocate it, but we may not use it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so we could adjust this at a quarterly review.
So, Councillor Ladbroke, did you want to read that if you're
Do you want
happy
me to
with
read
it?
all of it?
Yeah, I
Yep.
think just to clarify
Okay.
it.
I'd like to move that council approve the inclusion of up to 5 Australian Day ambassadors as part of the Australia Day awards and celebrations held in 2023. If required, allocate an additional 4,775 drawn from local area budgets, local development projects. For Roma, 775. Number, would that be 14825 2539 2001? Yulbar, $1,000. Number 14826 2539 2001. Mitchell, $1,000. 1427 2539 2001. Surat, $1,000. 14828 2539 2001. And Injune, $1,000. It's 14829 2539 and 2001. To the Australian Day budget, 20288. Is that 88 or
888.
888 2253 2001. To fund the Australian Day Ambassador Program if there are 5 ambassadors. And number 3, in future, increase the annual Australia Day Ambassador Program budget to $20,000.
Is it Australia Day and Ambassador Program?
It's just called the Australia Day, but I think it's just referred to as the Australia Day.
No, it's just
budget,
Australia Day budget.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
But
everyone
that would
think we just
include
spend
the,
that on
it's,
ambassadors.
currently the 02888 budget is just the Australia Day budget. So we're asking for an increase
I'm
of
happy
the
with that,
Australia.
Mr Mayor.
Mr Mayor, Councillor Ladbroke didn't add into number 2 about the review and an upcoming quarterly review.
Oh, Kel typed it
Yeah,
after,
so I'm just bringing it to his attention that was typed in after that, about looking at it in a quarterly review in case we can top back up the LDO budgets is what I.
You want me to read it again? Or
No, I'm just making
so
sure
do
you-
do you want that?
Yeah,
do you
that's
want
fine,
the
yep.
quarterly review if required, because it mightn't be spent, so.
Yep, if required.
So do we need to put review in and up, no, I guess does that make sense, Madam CEO?
Well, you're just saying that you'll actually review it if in an upcoming quarterly review. All that does is give you the ability to look at it either in quarter 2 or quarter 3.
Okay,
I'm
so
assuming quarter 2 because it's 26th.
anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Officer Di, thank you, Director.
Next, Kel.
Oh,
Hi.
I went straight to L6.
Is that?
Okay, I'll just, that's from the
Injune.
Visitor Information Centre,
Do we have
the
that information?
Christmas closures.
No, I
So
don't
we've
think we've got
done,
Don't think we've got that information yet.
We can,
Yep.
we've got
Let
that
me just
information.
double check that I don't have it. Okay, I'll just make sure, the director may have already sent it to me, just make sure.
Yeah, it's the Johnstons and the Johnstons purchasing it and Christine Johnson selling it.
And Paul McInerney, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It's actually a very confusing form to read and the names don't make it a lot easier.
Thank you for that, Director.
okay, so what page is that on?
58.
Of the late.
delete. Okay, L6, application permit to occupy lot 8 on AP 21569. We had a mover and a seconder.
Mr. Mayor, I move it.
Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. Okay, so I think that's all we got at the moment. Okay, do we have someone to move into close? Do we have any conflicts?
Unless, Mayor, the director might be giving it the CEO the information potentially.
Yeah, but I think give them a time to talk about it and so have we got any conflicts?
Mr Mayor, I have two. Councillor
Please go
Guthrie.
ahead.
Can I advise a conflict of interest in LC4, review of rate assessments requesting concessions? The declaring councillor is Councillor Julie Guthrie. The person with the interest, the related party, is actually myself as a partner in Guthrie Pastoral Group, as well as my husband Ross Guthrie and my son Nick Guthrie. The particulars of the interest is that this agenda item refers to a request for rating review for Guthrie Pastoral Group. The type of conflict is a declarable conflict of interest, and I would choose to leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on. The second one that I have is with regard, it's a conflict of interest in C2, disaster management planning, additional Bungle Creek floodplain modelling. The declaring councillor is myself, Councillor Julie Guthrie. The person with the interest is Guthrie Pastoral Group, which is a partnership between myself, Julie Guthrie, my husband, Ross Guthrie, and our son, Nick Guthrie. The particulars of interest is that the proposed modelling may involve the removal of the Hay Roma Dam spur, and I have previously declared an interest with ACC to own Hay Roma Dam, and to whom we regularly sell feedlot cattle consignments, and I've declared this on similar agenda matters. It's a declarable conflict of interest, and I will choose to leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, thank you. Any other conflicts? Righto. So do we have someone to move into close? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, in accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the council resolved to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that its councillors consider as necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed, an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. C1, application for funding under Queensland Government 2023-24 Cycle Network Local Government Grants Program. C2, disaster management planning, additional Bungle Creek floodplain modelling. C3, capital works program update, Roma PCYC roof repair. C4, Roma quarry pricing. C5, 2022-23 Q1 budget review. C6, Mitchell swimming pool management agreement, renewal, applications - expiry and options. C7, request for addition to road register, unnamed road of Cottage Creek Road. C8, request to extend Swerdner Downs Road. LC1, request for footpath upgrade under cost sharing arrangement Charles Street, Roma. LC2, infrastructure agreement, reference 2022-20658. LC3, 2022-23 quarter one budget review amended. LC4, review of rate assessments requesting concessions. LC5, Pinaroo Roma Inc. request for financial assistance. Are we done? Thanks.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. Please go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest on C2, description, disaster management planning, additional Bungle Creek floodplain modelling. The declaring councillor is myself. The person with interest is my wife, Lainey O'Neill. Particulars of interest that Lainey O'Neill works for Australian Country Choice, whose property is mentioned in the report. The type of conflict is a declarable conflict of interest. Although I have a declarable conflict of interest, I do not believe a reasonable person could have a perception of bias. Therefore, I will choose to remain in the meeting. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate in the decision.
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Taylor.
No.
Mover. Do we have a seconder?
Has someone moved
No.
something?
No.
Oh, no, sorry, Councillor Taylor's going to move it. You've got to read the words and then I'll ask.
I'd like to move that as in the public interest that Councillor O'Neill participates and votes on agenda item C2 because a reasonable person would trust that the decision is made in the public interest.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 6-0. Okay, now.
I move that we go into closed.
Righto, we have a seconder. Councillor Ladbroke. All those in favour? 8-0.
7-0.
Okay, C1, application for funding under Queensland Government 23-24 Cycle Network Local Government Grants Program. Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that Council 1 apply for funding under the Queensland Government's 2023-24 Cycle Network Local Government Grants Program. Update design for the construction of cycleway infrastructure, Miss Campbell Street, Carnarvon Highway to Wright Street. And 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign funding agreement and any other necessary documentation if successful.
Councillor Ladbroke, any opposition? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
0. C2, disaster management planning, additional Bungle Creek flood modelling.
Mr Mayor, I have a conflict for this one.
Righto, okay, you'll drop off and come back on when we text you, eh?
Yes, please.
Righto, Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move the council engage GHD to undertake additional flood modelling with the Bungle Creek floodplain as outlined in the scope of service dated 26th of October 2022.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
No, thanks.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 7-0. C3.
Who's going to text?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Good point.
Oh, okay.
Poor old Jules. I miss her out.
Just said the counter.
If she watches the video, she could see when we vote.
She turned off.
You got to turn it off.
Oh, I do have to turn the whole thing off.
You got to
Unless
remove
she's
yourself from the meeting.
Yeah, but can't you just watch the video without hearing? No. Okay.
I think she used to walk. But you're right, you just flick off.
C3, Councillor Guthrie back on.
Councillor Guthrie.
Councillor Guthrie.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I am back now.
C3, Capital Works Project, Roma PCYC roof repair. We have a mover, Councillor Ladbroke.
I'd like to move that council approve the works that have been designed to address the water leaking on the roof of the PCYC building Roma. And number 2, allocate a budget of $30,000 towards the project, with funds being drawn from savings achieved within the 22-23 Capital Works program.
We have a seconder. Councillor McMullen, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. C4, Roma Quarry pricing. We have a mover. Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move the Roma Quarry product price list be updated as per the schedule attached to this report effective from the 1st of January 2023.
We have a second of Councillor Taylor. Anybody wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
That's 8-0. C6, Mitchell Swimming Pool Management Agreement.
We need to do C5.
Oh, that's right, we're going to do that.
C5.
C5, 2022-23 quarter one budget review.
And that's through the.
I'll move that we withdraw C5.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. C6, Mitchell Swimming Pool Management Agreement Renewal. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
I'll move that Council 1 authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to negotiate extended opening hours and free entry with the contract manager for the remainder of the summer season. 2, be provided a further report at the next ordinary meeting confirming the outcome of negotiations. 3, request the CEO or delegate to provide options for an expressions of interest process to be considered at the next ordinary meeting of council.
We have a seconder, Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does
Yes.
anyone wish to speak to it?
No.
No, the mover doesn't wish to. So does someone wish to speak against the motion?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm just not supporting this motion because I don't agree with the free entry with the pools, and I don't think I don't think we can afford it. So that's why I'm against this motion.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion? I'll speak to the motion on free entry to the pool. That is included in here. I do believe I've had a lot of good feedback about, and especially when you explain to people how much we're subsidising, and then our process has been almost to lock people out of pools because of the cost of living pressures and paying for free entry, and that is only a fraction of the real cost of operating a pool anyway. So I believe that I'll certainly support the motion where we actually open our pools up to free entry to get the most use and better value for money for ratepayers in actually people using the pools. So I don't believe it should be left that the pool entry can be a prohibitor from using the pool. In fact, one resident from Mitchell was saying that it is so expensive to go to the pool that the kids could not afford to go on a constant basis. So I believe that if this is supported, it will really help make the equity argument to get people using something that council probably spends $1 million a year subsidising over our pools. The more people that can use them, the better value for money for ratepayers. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak against the motion or for the motion?
Just, thanks, Mr Mayor, just to touch on that also, the significant bonus of having free entry is a safety concern, like the Maranoa River's right beside the pool, and at the moment those kids that probably can't afford to go to the pool at the moment are heading down there, and we've had accidents in the past, and I think this is a one way of getting the kids off the street, out of the river into a safe environment and where they're supervised. I think the public of Mitchell have been hanging out for this as we're last on the list, so I think it's a good step forward.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak against the motion? Does anyone wish to speak for the motion? Does the mover wish to sum up?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Right, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
All those against? 5-3 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on to C7, request for addition to the road register, unnamed road off Cottage Creek Road. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 endorse the addition of the unnamed section of road off Cottage Creek Road onto Council's road register with a classification of rural access secondary and a length of 1.124 kilometres. 2, endorse The potential road naming of the section of road as outlined in item of this resolution, Wilgalea Road. 3, acknowledge annual estimated maintenance cost of $2,500 per annum.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
0. C8, request to extend Swerner Downs Road. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council 1 endorse the addition of the unnamed section of road reserve adjoining Swerdner Downs Road onto Council's road register with the classification of rural access secondary and a length of 3.309 kilometres. 2, acknowledge the estimated additional maintenance cost of $2,500 per annum.
We have a seconder, Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
LC1, request for footpath upgrade under cost sharing arrangement, Charles Street, Roma. I'd like to move that Council 1 enter into a co-contribution agreement with the applicant whereby Council provide a 50% contribution of the estimated costs for the northern and southern section. 2, note the current quotation of the amount of $53,163.50 plus GST. 3, recover the existing pavers for future use. 4, invoice the applicant, the co-contribution amount being 50% of the total cost. 5, approve an additional $8,500 plus GST for the southern section additional works. 6, reallocate budget for WO 23275 and GL 2334.2002.2001. And 7, approve a fees and charges waiver associated with the works in the road reserve permit application if required. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? I'll speak to it. Just like to thank the business and also the landlord involved who has kept buildings at an excellent level and in the past has worked with council to provide a more attractive business space. And I believe any time we have this happening, we need to do what we can, and this should finish off the works they've done in the past, and I'd like to congratulate them on their efforts. Does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. LC2, infrastructure agreement, reference 2022/20658. Do we have a mover? Councillor Ladbrook.
I'd like to move that Council 1 note the current stature of the matter and the discussions held to date with the application and the landowner of lots 8889 SP 253 599 and 2. Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to progress negotiations with the applicant. And 3, a report to be brought back to Council confirming options available.
Yeah, and just in that first one there, that was like status of the matter. Is that correct? And applicant.
That's you said.
Okay.
Yeah, and the second one, just clarifying, you were going with applicant, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I'll second that. Is there any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
Okay, 8-0 then. Okay, LC3, 22-23, quarter one budget review amended. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Now I'll move that Council 1 adopt the quarter 1 2022-23 revised budget amended as presented. 2, adopt the revised financial statements for 2022-23 budget amendments as shown in the report's attachments. Revenue policy 2022-23 revenue statement 2022-23 revised budget financial statements 2022-23 and following 2 years. Revised budget financial statements 2022-23 and following 9 years. Revised financial sustainability ratios 2022-23 and total value of change in rates and charges, and the documents be placed on the council website with the current. I won't read that out. Try and get the email website address.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. We'll just adjourn for a minute. Okay, so LC4, review of rate assessment requesting concessions.
Hang on, I shouldn't be on.
No,
we were
You're
adjourned.
just going to say you're leaving, Councillor Guthrie.
Sorry, conflict. I'm leaving now, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll give you a ring when you're back, when we need you back. Okay. Righto. Do we have a mover?
What are we doing?
I'd like to move that Council 1 approve concession of 65% on rate increases on the rate increase for the assessment numbers 150204007, 150203881 and 150203572, 2, and allow an extension to the discounted payment due date being 21st of December 2022. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 7-0. If we can get count.
No, that's right. Madam CEO, I never thought before there was another one that we thought might have got made today, but a member of the old fella came in on his own and I took him and introduced him to Deb. I just thought about that.
Look through the chair, I can.
Okay, we'll just adjourn for a minute.
Okay.
So we've got Councillor Guthrie back. LC5, Pinaroo Incorporated request for financial assistance. And it's right down the back. I'd like to move that 1, endorse the request for an additional 10,000 from Pinaroo Roma Incorporated for Pinaroo Injune. 2, fund this from ongoing assistance budget GL 288.2245 for the amount of 10,000, taking the total funding to 75 for the 22-23 budget. 3, advocate for more funding for the facility by writing to relevant agencies at the first available opportunity, including opportunities for what would it be? Carer support on carer support in the facility.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think you said $75,000. I thought you said 75.
Well, total funding to 75,000 for the 2022-23 budget.
Just with that, Mr. Mayor, you know, it says facility by writing to them. We write to them. We should be able to ring them, really, or contact.
Yeah, the first bit was to do with actually writing to governments and so forth, I believe. The second one is actually advocating straight to Pinaroo and so forth. We have a seconder, Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish
Mr.
to?
Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I just ask for maybe a change of wording rather than at the first available opportunity, because you've got opportunity and opportunity.
Sure.
Maybe on an urgent basis or reasonably urgent basis or something like that.
Yes.
Do you know where I'm going in number 3?
Yeah.
On a reasonably urgent basis to investigate, etc. Other than that, you've got opportunity and opportunities in 2.
Through the chair, as a matter of priority.
As a matter of priority.
Okay, is the second of Councillor McMullen happy with that? Okay, no one wishes to speak. We're going to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
Okay, 8-0. So that one's done.
So we're back to 13.3.
13.3 in the
In the
first agenda page.
what page, please?
It is 70.
Open.
Okay, item 13.3, Roma and Injune Visitor Information Centre Christmas and New Year operating hours. Do we have a mover? Did we have a mover, Kel? Okay, do we have a mover? I'd like to move that, 1, close the Roma Visitor Information Centre, Injune Visitor Information Centre and the Big Rig Roma on Saturday, 24th of December to Tuesday, the 27th of December, inclusive, and Saturday, the 31st of December to Monday, 2nd of January, inclusive. 2, open the Roma Visitor Information Centre, Injune Visitor Information Centre and the Big Rig from Wednesday, the 28th of December to Friday, the 30th of December between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Now, was there a change on 3?
It'll be Thursday, the 22nd of December.
Okay, 3, not operate the Big Rig Night Show Sunset Experience Wednesday, the...
Thursday, the 22nd.
From Wednesday.
So it's Thursday.
From Thursday, the 22nd of September, December,
To Tuesday, the 3rd of January.
to Tuesday, the 3rd of January, recommencing the tour on Wednesday, the 4th of January 2023. And we have a second, Councillor Taylor. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it?
Mr. Mayor.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank Director Dean for going away and doing that extra work that we asked today with showing some alternatives for being able to open additional hours. And I just want to thank him for that. The reason why I've now considered that this is the right thing to do is that we've found the information about Beck's Chopping Board and the fact that they're not opening, and so that whole facility will be closed. I've also done a bit of research myself and noted that there's some other facilities out west that are also closing as well, and so it's not that we wouldn't be in line with some of those other major tourism facilities out in the west. So I just want to acknowledge, thank you for that.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Taylor?
I too would just like to say that I know we gave you a lot of work before, but I really feel that we should, this is what's been recommended the first time round. I think they all deserve a holiday. And there's also volunteers that also get a break. So I think it's best to go with what we started with, just so everybody gets to recharge. And thank everybody for the year, because they do an amazing job down there.
Hear, hear. Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0.
That's it. That's good.
We've done all the late? Yep. Okay, so I'd like to move a notice of motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Notice of motion be put on the table for decision. The subject, does it have a number, Kel? What would it be? 8.1, consideration of same price hire across facilities to whole markets. I'd like to move that. Do we have a seconder?
What are we moving?
No, just to get it on the agenda
Oh,
so we can discuss it.
Yep.
Councillor Taylor, any opposition? All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
8-0. Okay, so I'd like to move that a fixed price for the hire of Roma Bassett Park, Wallumbilla Showground only, Surat recreational grounds, for the area of the markets be $70 per hire, and 2, one bond be held for all 3 facilities at a cost of $250. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Well, with Bathurst Park, all our charges will only be $250 to hire Bathurst Park, is it right?
No, this is just a one-off, and it means that instead of paying $250 per bond, it would be one bond for the 3 events that are held around the region.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So council will have $250 in bond if there is any
Yeah, I
problem.
gotcha.
But instead of paying, what is the Roma Bassett Park normal hire? The bond is here.
The
The
bond,
hire is it $70 the normal hire?
yes. Wallumbilla Showground, the hire fee of Surat there, it looks like $55.70. The bond is no bond. So basically, Wallumbilla is $138 per hire, and what the operator is saying is he wants to pay $70 each time he has an event.
So you need a seconder.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Okay, Councillor Ladbroke.
That's only for the,
This is a one-off. If this depends to do with these markets.
yes.
Yep. Okay, I'll speak to it. I do believe that we obviously should not be choosing what happens more than just trying to make it affordable to give experiences. This is something that apparently has been well received in Surat and also Wallumbilla and also Roma. So I think really I've had request from the operator and I'm bringing it to council to get a decision on it.
I've got a question.
Please go ahead.
Mr Mayor, are you sure that they want to hire the Surat Recreation Grounds? Because that's not where they held the markets.
Okay, well, it might well be the perhaps down on the river, but if you take it as being where they've held the markets, and that has been apparently the cost. So the hire fee is $55.70. So
It wasn't down there either.
Where do they normally have them?
Yeah, it wasn't down there. The markets that were held were up at the Wirra Sporting Complex, and I don't know if that is the high fee for up there. Like, who got this information for this report? It's your report, but who got you the high fee information?
yeah, that's the information that we got from the operator. As far as or maybe Surat recreational grounds might be considered Wirra Sporting Complex, maybe.
Look through
No,
the
it's
chair.
No, but that person might have thought it was called
Okay.
that. You know.
Okay.
Or maybe he wants to change to there. If this information has come from the gentleman, maybe that's the information that he's got there. But I just maybe he wants to change it to there.
Yeah, on the river would be nice.
So through the chair, he has made a request to us. What's come through from our customer service area is 3 sites: Roma Bassett Park, Wallumbilla Showgrounds and Surat Recreation Grounds.
So he's obviously wanting to move to there. Okay.
So that's what we're discussing, whether council will support it or not.
Just when you said, Mr Mayor, sorry, when you said before one-off, is that one-off, you were talking about the bond then, not the one-off, he's doing one market?
No. So basically, he would like to pay $250 for bond for the 3 markets that he has, and they obviously don't do them all at the same time. They do one and then move on to the next one, and then I'd imagine they would do the 3 in the month. So then they'd go back and do it again.
$70.
Mr Mayor, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Can I just, are there other stall holders that this would be applicable to And is it only just a request from one stall holder? I'm just trying to get my head around the scope of how many people this would affect, and whether it's really just for one person
No,
who has raised it.
he is the organiser of the markets, and then the other stall holders pay him to be there. He did say because it was a small attendance at, for instance, Wallumbilla, that even though he paid the money, he didn't charge any of the stall holders because it wasn't worth it to do that, so he covered the loss on that.
But he would normally charge.
He would normally charge, definitely, yeah. So he is who, like we've had others where they're the organiser and they charge site fees, so he would be charging site fees.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a suggestion as well? Could we maybe specify that for a trial basis for a period of time? I'm really struggling to get my head around whether or not this has actually been. I've read the agenda, I've read all the information, but I'm still a little bit ambivalent. I'm not quite sure whether we're stepping into something that's going to then come back and bite us down the track.
Yeah, no, I just know that that this is going to be, like it's been pressing before, and this is about, getting something either sorted or not sorted for December. So I'd be happy to do a trial, to see, for a period of time. But yeah.
Well, I'd be happy to support it if it was for a period of time that we then review and see whether or not it had any negative consequences, or whether it was viewed positively from the wider community.
Okay, so what period of time?
Through the chair, the minute taker is suggesting that council approve a 6-month trial with the following fees: a fixed price of $70 per hire, and one bond be held for all 3 facilities at a cost of $250.
Okay, so is the seconder happy? I'm happy to accept that. The extra thing is that council approve a 6-month trial with the following fees.
Yep.
Councillor Burkett.
Just a question. Obviously, there's kickback in Roma, but in Wallumbilla or Surat, there's not. Obviously, they mustn't. Do they have markets where?
There's
No. So
Had them up there used to
we can't split them. Like, can we vote on individually so we can? Like if
Well, there's no difference in the $70 per hire for Bassett Park, and it's only that Wallumbilla is cheaper than it was, and Surat is a bit dearer than it was.
Just that there's kickback in Roma because there's other markets from non-for-profit, whereas the other centres we sort of we knock it back for them. They haven't got any other markets.
I think Mr. Mayor, what Councillor Burger saying, split the towns up.
Yeah. Is that fair enough to do that?
Well, you can ask the chair to do that, and if he says no, he won't do it, then you can move a motion.
As the mover.
No, not as the mover, as the chairman of the meeting.
Well, I get the feeling from the operator that I think the Roma one is an important one, and he was just intimating that originally had a small amount and it seems to be growing. So without actually asking that question, I think the 3 are all crucial to making it work,
I just have a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Ladbrook.
I know another organisation, we're going to set up markets out at Bassett Park as a money-making thing, the same as them, but this fella beat them to the mark.
There's someone else doing it.
So someone else was going to do it anyway.
An organisation, so a community.
Well, I'll tell you, Roma Show Society were going to do it.
Yeah, so a community group.
Okay,
instead of
and
commercial.
this fella's beat them. And there's no big deal.
Anyway,
I just
talk
said we'd
about
be.
that, but that's not part of this thing.
So there were going to be another
And
markets there
these-
anyway.
And these fees would relate to everybody that wants to hire.
No, well,
No.
No, this would be
sending special
This is
fees.
a single agreement.
But anyone can bring. But the fact if they might even have a fee waiver, another group perhaps, whereas this is not a fee waiver.
Mr.
This is
Mayor.
a reduction.
Through the chair,
Could we have the motion be put, please?
Oh, there we go.
Right, all those in favour of the motion?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
All those against? Lost 3-5 if I can call for a division. Okay, any further business, councillors?
No, thank you.
Okay, I'll close the meeting at 5:06 PM. Thank you for your attendance.